Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday, the 26th day of July. Are you ready to have a good Friday and then, get on back home and start your weekend? That's right. FRIYAY, July 26th. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and I'm here with you till 7 o'clock. As you try to get home and run your last-minute pre-weekend errands. Hope everything's going well for you. A little rain in the area, and temperatures are cool because of that. It's 76 degrees right now in Nashville, but it's a very humid 76 degrees.
Yes, it is.
It really is. But, we'll take it.
Better than the alternative, yeah.
It's better than 97 or 98 degrees and very humid, but only a little. Okay. So let's start. And what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to try this out, see how it goes. There's so much 2024 news each day that I'm going to have to break it down into three categories. Number one is news that relates to Kamala. Then number two is news that relates to Trump. And then number three, just other 2024 news that doesn't really fit into either one of those categories. So, that's the way I'm going to break it down right now. I think I'll start with Kamala. And by the way, let's just get this straight. She calls herself Kamala, not Kamala. So she's the authority on how she pronounces her name, and we've got her on tape saying, "Hi, I'm Kamala, and my pronouns are." So she says Kamala, right? So we're going to call her Kamala. I have been right all along, and there are some people who think it's Kamala, but that's not what she says, right? We're in agreement.
I think some people just want to say it wrong intentionally.
Well.
Like Donald Trump, I think he's one of them.
Yeah, Kamala. Well, anyway, one way or the other, we're going to go with Kamala, and that's going to be official until I am convinced by someone that she pronounces it differently than that. That's the correct way, Kamala. All right, so Kamala got a phone call. Well, I don't think it really was a phone call. I think this was all faked up to make it look like she got a phone call. What it sounds like to me is that Barack Obama and Michelle Obama had a script that they were sent over by the campaign, and they read it, and then they made it sound like it was a phone call. As best I can tell, it seems scripted, it seems unreal, it seems stilted and awkward, and just non-sincere in every way. It's like, I almost think that you don't see Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, because I think if there was video of them doing this, I think they might be blinking SOS in Morse code. I think they did this under duress. I think the campaigns, come on, we need you on board, let's get this over with, and I think they reluctantly did this, but one way or the other, it is an interesting phone call, and here is how it was presented by the Harris campaign.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I'm looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
Well, two things. Number one, they were absolutely the last people who mattered to endorse Kamala Harris. And the second thing, and I don't want to gloat. I really don't. But, hey, guess what? It's not going to be Michelle Obama. I'm sorry. I know that you really wanted, you were out there worried about Michelle. You should have listened to me all along, because I told you it would not be Michelle Obama. Here you have Michelle Obama giving an official endorsement to Kamala Harris. Folks, This fixation that you had on Michelle Obama was just a waste of your time. You just, I'm not trying to say that I'm gloating and that I was right, but I was right. So, enough. We can officially now take that off the table because she's not going to be a candidate. So there was that phoner. Boy, was that weird. Was that stilted? Was that about the most awkward thing ever? The Republicans are putting together a pretty good playbook on her, and we're going to have a lot of information that keeps coming in and drips. Now, I'll be honest with you, the numbers are a little tighter than they were before. And there is an exuberance among Democrats about this nominee, mainly because it's anybody besides Joe Biden. They were really down in the dumps about Biden, really down in the dumps. Oh, my God, they were wailing and gnashing. Oh, we're going to lose this thing. We're going to lose this thing. Anybody but Biden. And so here comes Kamala, and they'll take it because it's not Biden. Anybody but Biden would have been acceptable to them. They would have been very excited about it. But we're going to learn a lot about Kamala Harris in the days ahead. I mean, you and I probably already know a lot of this stuff, but the Republicans are going to be, pretty smart about, making sure that people understand a lot about her background. Like, for example, this. She can't keep people on staff. She goes through staff like other people go through underwear. 92% of her staff have gone away over the course of her vice presidency. According to Andrew Andrzejewski, I think that's the way you say his name, who is in charge of OpenTheBooks.com, who's been looking at that. 92% of her staff have rolled over.
Well, the office of vice president under Kamala Harris has been rocked by extreme turnover. Incredibly, there's been a 92% turnover on her staff from her first year in 2021 through March of this year. Our auditors at OpenTheBooks.com, we broke this story. We broke it right here on the national desk earlier this week. Here's what we found. We found in her first year, Harris hired 47 staffers. After 3 years, there's only 4 of those people that have been continuously employed in her office over the course of the past 3 years. And it's actually not getting better. It's getting worse. We found in the previous 12 months, the last year, she lost 24 of her staffers. That's half her payroll, who no longer works for her, but works for somebody else. Well, it was nearly 100% in the senior leadership positions. She turned over nearly all of her senior executive hires, so there was virtually no loyalty amongst the senior people on her staff. Only some lower level 4 people were continuously employed. Well, we found that the vice president, incredibly one heartbeat away from the president, is actually the least transparent elected official in the entire country. We started this process, Jan, 2 years ago. We filed a Federal Freedom of Information Act request for her payroll with her office. And her senior lawyer, they rejected our request. They said they're immune from the sunshine laws, the people's right to know. We vehemently disagree with that. There's no legal precedent for that. And we're going to be testing this in federal court very shortly with a lawsuit.
All right, so there you go. Then maybe they'll get some more documents there. And again, yes, Democrats are very enthusiastic. They're just, and it's the honeymoon phase for Kamala Harris. The Democrats are embracing her, and they seem to be excited. However, a voice of reason among all the Democrats. That cranky old James Carville, I love him so much. He said, "I'm going to be the skunk at the garden party."
To be the skunk at the garden party. This is too triumphant, okay? This is everybody's giddy. I look at the coverage and it's great.
Giddy.
If I had to write a play about what I think it's going to be like, it would be entitled The Ice Pick Cometh, okay? Get ready, they're coming, all right? And it's good. Everybody should feel good and liberated and everything else. But if we don't win the election, we haven't done anything. We haven't changed the temperature in America. We haven't changed anything. And I think the vice president, I hope that, her campaign is getting ready. I hope they're listening to my friend and fellow New Orleanian, Don Brazil, who actually, I think, has the same kind of view of politics that I do. And they're coming at us. And they're going to keep coming. And this kind of giddy elation is not going to be very helpful much longer, because that's not what we're going to be faced with.
Yeah. Well, he's right, because I mean, the Republicans are starting to put out the stuff that is going to sink This nomination. I believe with every fiber of my being that when people learn about Kamala and her record and how far left she is and some of the loony leftist ideas that she has embraced, they're gonna say, even if you're somebody who's in the middle, you're gonna go, well, that's way outside, where I am. She is not even close to being anywhere near a mainstream political thought in America. She is a real act. Now, they're going to try to present her as something other than that, but I mean, it's hard for her to run away from her record. It's hard to run away from the fact that when she served in the United States Senate, she was found by those people who do these sort of analyses that she was the most liberal senator in the Senate, even more liberal than crazy Bernie Sanders. So you can't run from the record. And believe me, the opposition research team over at the Trump campaign, they're pulling out all the old clips. They're ready to hold her accountable for the things she has said and the position she has held and the things that she has done all these many years in public office. And it's going to be interesting. Harris's liberal record follows her into the battle for swing state voters, writes the Washington Times. A far left record on policy and legislation follows Vice President Kamala Harris into the presidential race, complicating her bid to win over critical swing state voters who do not align with ultra-liberal candidates. Ms. Harris, age 59, debuted her presidential campaign this week with an agenda and message aimed at the moderate middle. But her record in the Senate, where she once ranked as the most liberal, and past statements supported a much different agenda. And they're not going to be able to run away from that. In her 2020 presidential bid, Ms. Harris campaigned on ending the Trump-era individual tax cut, which slashed taxes for Americans at nearly all income levels. Those cuts expire in January. Ms. Harris also backed a corporate tax increase from the current 21% to 35%, so business is not going to be supportive of her. She joined President Biden to promote a 2025 budget that taxes wealthy individuals on unrealized capital gains. Folks, that impacts a great deal more of you than you might imagine under the right circumstances. Ms. Harris separately proposed financial transaction tax on stocks, bonds, and derivatives. Ms. Harris has not proposed a tax plan as the presumptive Democrat presidential nominee, but the Biden-Harris ticket pledged to avoid raising taxes on anyone with an annual income of less than $400,000. But if the Trump-era taxes expire, almost everyone at every income level will be hit with a tax increase. The Tax Foundation says the 2025 Biden-Harris budget would cut the nation's economic output by 1.6%. She's bad on crime, and there's a whole record of that they're going to bring out and talk about how she was a bad prosecutor, but also somebody who wanted to defund the police. She's got the wrong position on health care. She's got the wrong position on energy. She has the wrong position absolutely on illegal immigration, and they're going to bring this forward in the days ahead. And they're trying to say that she was never the border czar. That ain't going to wash. Everybody knows she was in charge of the border and did nothing. By the way, the Harris campaign has joined TikTok after the Biden administration signed a ban on TikTok. So they apparently don't even pay attention to their own policies. So in a minute, some other 2024 news. Right now, it's 20 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. United Structural Systems, listen, the weather we have had is exactly perfect for causing problems with foundations. I mean, we had the wet spring, very, very wet, followed by, almost drought conditions, and now it's raining again. The back and forth, that's what causes foundations to start to fail. So if you see your bricks cracking, your walls bowing, your doors or windows sticking, drywall separating, stair-step cracks in masonry mortar joints, or chimneys that tilt or lean a bit, that you need to call United Structural Systems. They've been around for 30 years in this area with more than 25,000 satisfied residential customers. If you have concrete or sidewalks or driveways or patio slabs and or steps around your house that are sinking or are tilted, they can put everything back where it needs to be, plumb and level. It's a process that takes only a few hours. You can walk on it immediately. You can drive it on 30 minutes. And by the way, it's a lot cheaper than trying to replace those things. Don't replace it, raise it. Here's the number, 615-488-7855. Learn more at USSTN.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Donald Trump spoke to reporters after today's meeting in Florida with the Israeli Prime Minister. We'll have some of what he said. A monumental arrest in the war on drugs. And back here in Middle Tennessee, an East Nashville shooting overnight leaves a teenager dead. We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 24, almost 25 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air. Let's go ahead and move into our 2024 update because we got a lot of stuff to sort of get into the record. This is stuff that's not really related specifically to Trump or Kamala Harris, but it is important that you know during this election season. They had a vote in the House of Representatives yesterday, and it was pretty interesting. It was a condemnation of the work that Kamala Harris has done as border czar. Now, you would expect that all Republicans voted for it, and they did. The final vote was 120 to 196. And this is House Res 1371, brought by Elise Stefanik. Now, this is one of those votes where it really doesn't mean anything. It's not legislation. They're just simply the sense of the House. And it's a way for the Republicans to sort of stick it, to the other side. But what was interesting about it is 6 Democrats joined them. 6 Democrats joined the Republicans in condemning the job that Kamala Harris has done as border czar. You ready? The Democrats trying to put distance between themselves and their party's horrific border policy in Thursday's votes were Representatives Yadira Caraveo, who's a Democrat from Colorado, Henry Cuellar, a Democrat from Texas, Don Davis, a Democrat from North Carolina, Jared Golden, a Democrat from Maine, Mary Peltola, who's a Democrat from Alaska, and Marie Glusenkamp Perez, a Democrat from Washington State. A Democrat from Washington State. These 6 Democrats, by signing on to this resolution, have strongly condemned the current administration and Kamala Harris's failure to secure the United States border, affirmed that the American people deserve elected officials who understand the gravity of the crisis at the border and will execute the policies to fix the border crisis. It went on to state that the continuation of the Biden-Harris border policies would be disastrous for both the United States and the American people. 6 Democrats signed on to that. That's pretty, I mean, and it means they're terrified of that 30-second political spot that says these Democrats. Well, I got to have the brand. You can't do it without the brand. These Democrats supported the border policies of Biden-Harris. You can't vote for them, but now they can say, "Well, I'm not going to have that because I voted in favor of condemning that position." So they have missed. There will be no 30-second political spot against these 6 Democrats, but everybody else is going to get one. You can be sure of that. The FCC has ruled that if you put out a political ad and it has AI, artificial intelligence-generated content, you must acknowledge it. You must inform people in the ad about it. You'll hear disclaimers about the use of artificial intelligence in political ads. So there you go. They're not restricting it or banning it, but if it's used, you have to say it was that. So, if you use somebody's, artificially AI generated voice likeness of somebody or an image of somebody, you have to then declare it in the disclaimer. So there's that. I love this story. I used to have a house down in Florida, down on 30A. If you've ever been down on 30A, in Walton County, South Walton County, going to the beach for your beach trip, you may have seen this guy. His name is Marvin Peavy, and he's got a banner that runs the entire length of his mega mansion there. It's about, I think, 3 or 4 stories tall, and it's a Trump banner. And it was frowned upon by his neighbors, and they went to a Walton County judge and said, "We're part of the homeowners association, and he's violating the homeowners association." And the judge gave him a fine of $50 a day for as long as he kept up that banner. He said, "I don't care, I'll pay it." And that $50 fine is probably somewhere around $50,000 at this point. Well, he just put up a brand new Trump banner. Brand new. Trump 2024. Trump Vance 2024. And he's continuing to pay the fine. I've seen it. It's truly something. And he just doesn't care. I wish that, when I was having my battles with homeowner associations down there, I wish I'd have had that kind of budget.
You'd have put a giant flamingo out front.
I would have put a giant pink flamingo out there instead of that little one that I put out by my mailbox. It is 30 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock.
Yes, good afternoon. It's 3:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got rain here in Music City, 79 degrees. A complete forecast and a traffic update on this sloppy Friday are on the way. Former President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu meeting today at Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Trump saying he's always had a very good relationship with the Israeli prime minister before issuing a warning of what could happen in the Middle East if he loses in November.
After slamming Vice President Kamala Harris,
she's really a destroyer.
Trump talking Middle East, saying if he wins in November, it's all going to work out and very quickly.
If we don't, you're going to end up with major wars in the Middle East and maybe a third world war.
On Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he believes there has been some movement on a hostage deal, citing the military pressure Israel has shown.
That's ABC's Perry Russum. Moving now to the war on drugs. 2 leaders of the notorious Sinaloa drug cartel are in federal custody now. The 2 men, including the son of the infamous drug lord El Chapo, are facing multiple charges for leading the cartel's criminal operations. Here's John Katko, a former Republican congressman from New York and an ABC News political contributor.
This is a very big deal that they were able to get probably the largest cartel's leadership and decapitate them by luring them into the United States. So this takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of probably cooperating witnesses on both sides of the border.
Now in Nashville, a 17-year-old boy has died after a shooting in the Old Hickory neighborhood of Nashville early this morning. News 2 reporting the shooting happened around 12:45 a.m. on Bryan Street in the historic Old Hickory Village. According to Metro Police, the teen was injured when multiple gunshots were fired into his home. The teenager was taken to an area hospital where they were pronounced dead. No information, additional info, that is, has been released as of this time. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
You know, if you've lived in this area for a long time, you know that Eurofix has been in Middle Tennessee and the place to go for your European car repair now for some 24 years. And we've watched them grow over the many years. I don't know about you, but I love watching a hometown business take off. Well, the folks at Eurofix are now proud to announce a 5th location in Mount Juliet for Eurofix, right on Mount Juliet Road, directly across the street from the Dairy Queen. Eurofix can serve you now in Franklin, 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now their newest location in Mount Juliet. It's pretty cool getting to watch a small-town mechanic starting at a barn in the backyard of his single-wide trailer, growing to 5 locations where he repairs, and this is no joke, thousands of cars each month. It's a big dog deal. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner with every repair appointment. So if you have a European vehicle and it needs repair, call 844-EUROFIX or just go by and visit them or visit their website, myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It's 38 past the hour, 3 o'clock, Super Talk 99.7. How you doing out there? Everything okay? You getting home okay? You know, a moment ago we told you about this guy put up the banner down there on 30A in South Walton County, Florida, right there on the Gulf. I mean, and he's racked up a $50,000 fine. Chris found some sound of the guy. His name is Marvin Peavy, and he's just defiant. He says, I don't care. They just keep fining me because I ain't going to pay the thing. Go ahead.
How y'all doing? I'm Marvin Peavy. I live at Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. This is my beach home. I've been here for 4 years. I've had signs hanging for 4 years for Donald Trump. Back in the beginning, code enforcement came out and told me that I had to take my signs down. I'm not in HOA, but code enforcement came out and told me I had to take them down, that I could not hang banners from my house. Very few people had called me in. We're in a Republican area down here, 95% Republican, probably 98%. But anyway, I had to go to court. The judge there at the code enforcement court said it was above his pay grade, had to go to another court. They started fining me $50 a day. This has been going on for over 33 months, which is over 50-something thousand. I've had many people that want to start a GoFundMe. I do not need a GoFundMe because I'm not going to pay the fines. Maybe you call me ungovernable, but this is my first constitutional right. I will stand up. I am there helping Donald Trump. He's just in the way, and I'm in the way. I will not stop. I will not go by what they're telling me because we all have rights in America. The old the Constitution, and we've also had a new law passed by the Supreme Court the other day on July 1, the Chevron defiance. We need to read that, guys, and let you know what's really going on. They cannot force laws upon us that have not been created by our representatives. I appreciate everyone, and I support. I love Old Road. They're also standing up for their constitutional rights. They've done everything for America. They're all about Trump. They're all about we the people and families. Hoping that that one day we'll be free from all the crap that goes on in our world. And Old Road is here for us. Old Road. Thank you.
Well, There you go. Now I learned something, and it's not an HOA. It was code enforcement. The people who handled the coach there said he can't have a sign like that.
Yep, and that video was posted on Tuesday, I believe. And I want to thank Lori on the Members Nutrition Super Text line for passing that along to us.
Thank you, Lori. We appreciate that. And we look, our fans point stuff to us all the time. So there you go. I mean, I love the guy. I don't need your money because I ain't gonna pay the fine.
The video that was attached to this audio, obviously, was posted on X, and he's standing outside his home underneath the sign. Yeah. And it's like a 3-story high sign, and it says you missed Trump 2024 with a picture of Trump doing the fist pump after the
shooting. I love the guy. I mean, I've gone by there, and every time I go by there, I give him a little honk on the horn. Yeah, dude, keep it up, But no, that guy, I admire people who stand up and say, it's my First Amendment right. And if it's not an NHO, now I guarantee you, probably it would be more of a sticky situation if he had an HOA.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Because HOAs are incredibly powerful. And believe me, when I was researching how I could fight against my HOA down there, I found out that, almost always you lose. Because the HOA under Florida laws are incredibly powerful, more powerful than you might imagine. So I love that. I love that he's out there fighting the county. And by the way, he's right. It's down there. It's incredibly Republican area. It's very red. I don't know if it's 98, but it's way up there. That's why when you look at the numbers that come in from Florida on election night, you never worry about if you're a little bit behind. In the early going. That's because Florida, the west coast of Florida is in a different time zone, and then when they come in, things even up because it is heavily Republican. They call it L.A., Lower Alabama, the Panhandle. It's fed something. Well, anyway, other 2024 news. Other news that relates, I think this is actually not necessarily 2024 news. This has to do with the assassination attempt. Senator Hawley of Missouri has a whistleblower that says that the Secret Service was offered the use of a drone by the local authorities, and they declined to have that drone. Now, the drone could have given them an aerial view of what was going on. It would have given them aerial coverage. They would have seen the guy on the roof, very likely, but the Secret Service explained that if it wasn't their drone, they weren't going to use it, and apparently they didn't use it. Now, the shooter had a drone, but the Secret Service chose to decline the request from the local authorities to use their drone for oversight of the Butler Farm area where the assassination attempt took place. This raises obvious questions. Why was the Secret Service not using its own drones? Asked Hawley. It's hard to understand why the USS would decline to use drones when they were offered, particularly given the fact that the USS permitted the shooter to overfly the rally with his own drone mere hours before the event. The failure to deploy drone technology is all the more concerning since, according to the whistleblower, the drones that the Secret Service was offered had the capability not only to identify active shooters, but also to help neutralize them. I mean, okay, let me just think about this for a moment. If he's on the roof, right, and you got a drone, and the drone spots him, what do? You fly the drone over and you get in his face, right? You put the drone right on him. And he's going to be spooked by that and run. You could break this thing up with a piece of technology that's $200. Well, some of them are more expensive, but you can get a drone for $200-$300. You fly it over there, you buzz him, and he gets all spooked and he starts to run. Oh, they're on to me. I can't. He could have easily stopped it with the drone. Just unbelievable. FBI director, the other day when he testified, stirred up a hornet's nest over Trump's ear when he said the following.
With respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that hit his ear. So it's conceivable, although as I sit here right now, I don't know whether that bullet in addition to, causing the grazing, could have also landed somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, but what he said was it could have been shrapnel. Well, this is not going over well with Trump or anybody associated with the campaign. Representative Ronnie Jackson, Republican from Texas, former President Trump's physician, said FBI Director Christopher Wray was wrong to imply that Trump was struck by anything other than a bullet during the attempt on his life at a Pennsylvania rally. There is absolutely no evidence that it was anything other than a bullet. Congress should correct the record as confirmed by both the hospital and myself. Dr. Ray is wrong and inappropriate to suggest anything else. Director Ray is wrong and inappropriate to suggest anything else, he added. Jackson drew upon his experience serving as a combat physician in the U.S. Navy to back up his assessment. He detailed that Butler Memorial Hospital, where Trump was sent immediately following the incident, evaluated and treated Trump for a, quote, gunshot wound to the right ear. Based on my direct observations of the injury, my relevant clinical background, and my significant experience evaluating and treating patients with similar wounds, I completely concur with the initial assessment and treatment provided by the doctors and nurses at Butler Memorial Hospital on the day of the shooting. So Leanne puts that to Lindsey Graham is apoplectic about this. Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, ranking member on the Senate Judiciary Committee, sent a letter to FBI Director Christopher Wray on Friday morning, urging him to correct his testimony immediately when he said he was uncertain whether a bullet struck former President Trump in the ear. Wray testified he wasn't sure if it was a bullet or a piece of glass or shrapnel. Look, if it was glass, it could have only come from one thing, the teleprompter. And the teleprompter glass was intact. That's not tempered glass. I mean, well, this is glass that would shatter. It's a mirror, basically. And it would have shattered had there been a problem. Ray testified that he wasn't sure if it was a bullet, a piece of glass, or shrapnel. Well, it's clear to everyone that President Trump survived an assassination attempt by millimeters as the attempted assassin's bullet ripped the upper part of his ear, Graham wrote. Graham said this should not be a matter of contention because he has had several joint briefings with Judiciary and Homeland Security committees about the assassination attempt. Therefore, I urge you to immediately correct your statement and acknowledge that President Trump was hit by a bullet rather than glass or shrapnel. As head of the FBI, you should not be creating confusion about such matters as it further undercuts the agency's credibility with millions of Americans. Well, I mean, there's nothing else that looked like it got hit. Where would the shrapnel have come from? I mean, what could have possibly hit him if there was what shrapnel? What would be causing shrapnel? No, look, I think it's amazing that he survived it, but indeed, he did. So there you have it. I mean, a lot of fuss and fighting over whether it was a bullet, and Trump says himself that hey, it was a bullet. Shut up. I know what it was, and it was a bullet, and that's what the doctor said as well. Trump, by the way, is met with Netanyahu, as you heard in the newscast today, at Mar-a-Lago. Benjamin Netanyahu has met with Biden, Harris, and now he goes down to Florida for a meeting with former President Trump. And apparently some of the things that Kamala Harris said to Benjamin Netanyahu, who he wasn't very happy with, and when they had the little photo op, former President Trump said that he thought that the current vice president had been disrespectful to Benjamin Netanyahu.
I think her remarks were disrespectful. They weren't very nice pertaining to Israel. I actually don't know how a person who's Jewish could vote for her, but that's up to them. But she was certainly disrespectful to Israel, in my opinion.
There you go. 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Buying a diamond, if you're not properly educated, can be difficult. If you're not careful, you can overpay, and you can overpay big time. Small variations in a diamond's quality can make a huge difference in its value. That's why I always recommend Genesis Diamonds. Now, they're second to none. They will teach you the secrets of the industry. They will explain how diamonds are priced in the world market. Their non-commission experts will make you a savvy buyer, even if you decide to shop somewhere else. These days, this is so important, especially if you're considering buying a lab-grown diamond. Now, you need to let Genesis reveal the truth behind the recent trend and show you all the information on how lab-growns are being overpriced in so many places. Don't overspend. Make sure you understand this. Bottom line, Genesis is your source for the best information as well as the best value if you're buying a natural or a lab-grown diamond. Whether you're buying a diamond for the first time or upgrading to a large, rare, investment-grade diamond, Genesis will make sure that you do not make a mistake. Genesis Diamonds, where the focus is always on honesty, transparency, education, quality, and value. Don't buy a diamond until you learn the ins and outs from Genesis. 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
I started working in the early 60s, and Tennessee had a deer stalking program already in place going, primarily from Clarksville Base within the Fort Campbell area. From that area, a lot of deer were stalked in Middle and West Tennessee, and then later on, we started taking deer from those areas and stalking other areas. So it was a progression. It moved pretty fast. The deer sometimes were faster than the stalkers were.
I bet that was pretty exciting trying to trap those deer and move them and know that you're making a huge impact.
Well, we wasn't all that confident.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of the counties had dog problems. You know, they'd be wanting to dog the deer, and it didn't hold up under that kind of pressure. And we had to go back in and restock. And there was a lot of different types of law enforcement work that had to be done.
I hear you.
And the officers did a good job. And we talked to a lot of the judges, and they clamped down pretty hard on somebody poaching deer out there. Back then, we only put out 15 or 20 deer. It was critical. In fact, at that time, it could cost you your truck.
Yeah. It's an amazing success story. You hear folks saying, well, we didn't see a deer when I was a kid, and now you just have to walk out your back door and you got in a subdivision grazing or driving down the interstate highways or whatever, you see a deer just about every day.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if we're too efficient.
Some folks say back in the good old days, but I don't know. Right now, hunting and fishing is really good.
Donald Trump speaking to reporters after today's meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister. We'll have some of what he said. Wildfires out west continue to rage out of control, and a very big deli meat recall. You want to stick around for this. It's all coming up at 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 57 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Looking at the markets today, well, there was a bullish inflation report, and the markets liked what they saw. Dow Jones Industrial surged 654 points. It's now standing at 40,589. The S&P was up 59, and the NASDAQ, which has been having trouble of late because some of the tech reporting has not been good, it is up 176 points, which is about 1%. So what is driving the market? Well, I think it has to do with this inflation report, but John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management has more on that. Hello, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, we've had a pretty volatile week or so in the market, and the stock really turns its attention exactly towards that inflation report that we saw today. And really, Wall Street was questioning whether the recent volatility was a short-term pullback or maybe a little bit deeper. But the big report, again, that came out today, it's the Fed's preferred inflation index, the PCE index, actually was year over year 2.6. The estimation was 2.5. So on the front end, you would think that would be a little higher, so negative, but it's actually the slowest pace that's gone up since March of 2021. And so Wall Street liked that. The Fed's going to like that. And again, what this really leads towards is a potential rate cut either in July, but more than likely September. So the market's going to continue to watch that.
So maybe one rate cut before the elections. All right. Thank you very much, John Maxon. Learn about all the things that John Maxon and all the people over at Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement. Just go to their website, askbeaconnow.com.
Good afternoon. It is 1 minute past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, rain, and 79 degrees. A weekend forecast and a traffic report are on the way. Speaking to reporters after their meeting, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as Donald Trump, Mr. Trump saying that his relationship with Netanyahu is very good. And here is Trump when asked about the hostage situation in Gaza.
That's a very tough situation, the hostages. They have to be given back immediately because there can be no way that they're in good shape. They're obviously not being treated properly.
Moving out west here in the U.S., an enormous 178,000 acres have now burned in what's being called the Park Fire near Chico, California. It started yesterday. Alex Stone from ABC reports on efforts to get people to evacuate.
Parts of the town of Paradise are now evacuated as flames have burned through a massive amount of land. Paradise was where the 2018 Camp Fire destroyed the town, leading to around 85 deaths. Butte County Sheriff Corey Honey is pleading with people to heed evacuation orders.
If the fire blows over, I can't make any promise or guarantee that we can get up there to save your life.
134 buildings have burned. Firefighters say they don't know yet how many of those were homes.
The USDA, they're recalling 200,000 pounds of boar's head deli meat, possibly linked to a recent outbreak of listeria.
It's the liverwurst. Well, at least it was a sample of liverwurst put out by Boar's Head that was found to be tainted with listeria, a bacteria that's especially dangerous for pregnant women, young children, and the elderly. The sample was taken from a Maryland store, and other deli meat sliced on the same line as it was also pulled. The nation's most recent listeria outbreak has killed at least 2 people and made dozens of others sick.
ABC's Sherry Preston reporting there. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Cafes and bars. Michelle Franzen, ABC News. Michelle Franzen.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock, second hour of the drive now underway here on Super Talk 99.7. 75 degrees outside. Not a particularly scorching day, but a pretty, it's sort of a, I think there's a meteorological term for it. It's just sort of very muggy.
It's kind of a Charlie Brown day to me, sort of day.
Yeah, it's not the greatest, but at least it's not 98 degrees and humid. So there is always a little ray of sunshine to be found. I actually am not and don't have any problem at all with having a little rain. It'd be good to have some rain.
Yep.
My grass is starting to come back a little bit, and I'm excited about that. I thought maybe my lawn was completely lost. So Saturday, no rain. Sunday, 65% chance of rain. But I don't see temperatures getting back up into the 90s until the middle of next week. So
that's all right.
That's all right. Yeah. I'll take that. That's not bad at all. All right. I want to talk about we haven't talked about the border. And, you know how the Biden administration is now touting that, people, the lowest number of people coming across the border that we've had in years. They're actually trying to claim that they have solved the border crisis problem. And let me tell you what's really going on here. The cartels are smart, and they know that if Donald Trump gets in office, that they are going to have real problems. I mean, Donald Trump is on record. Well, here's a little thing. President Donald Trump warned that military airstrikes against Mexican drug cartels bringing fentanyl into the U.S. would absolutely be considered if the Mexican government did not intervene and police their own border under a potential second Trump administration. Well, he's serious about it. He'll use the military because they are. I think they are, they're combatants as far as I'm concerned. They're the enemies of our country. They're a national security threat. And we use drones and all kinds of things to take out bad people around the world if we consider them threats to our national security. Well, these folks are definitely a threat to our national security. And they know that if Trump gets in there, they're going to have their hands full. They're going to have 4 years of being, looking over their shoulder the whole time. And so what they have done is that they have limited the number of people coming across the border. Yeah, we'll send a few across every day, but we're not gonna send a lot of them over there, because we need to sort of lay low between now and the election to help our Democrat friends, because they'll let us keep doing what we were doing because that's all that. So it's not the Biden policies. It really is not. It's that I think that the cartels have decided to sort of pull back a little bit in hopes that they can have, give the Biden people a talking point. Look what we did. We solved the border problem. It hasn't been solved. It's not solved at all. Love this more than I can begin to tell you. This is the funniest story that I've heard in a long time. You're going to love this. It's all related to the Sinaloa cartel. 2 top leaders of the Mexican Sinaloa drug cartel have been taken into custody by United States authorities, according to ABC News, to face charges for their role in leading the group's vast drug trafficking enterprise, the Justice Department announced on Thursday. They got El Mayo Zambada and Joaquin Guzman Lopez, the son of El Chapo Guzman. They were placed under arrest in El Paso, Texas on Thursday, according to the Attorney General. Now, you ready for this? This is unbelievable. Both men are facing multiple charges in the United States for leading the cartel's criminal operations, including its deadly fentanyl manufacturing and trafficking networks, Garland said in a statement. El Mayo and Guzman Lopez join a growing list of Sinaloa cartel leaders and associates who the Justice Department is holding accountable in the United States. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. This is how they got arrested. This is priceless. Garcia and Guzman have allegedly overseen the trafficking of tens of thousands of pounds of cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and fentanyl. These arrests are an example of the FBI and our partners' commitment. The men were arrested in an operation that ended on U.S. soil. El Mayo... I just love it. Thought he was headed to inspect a clandestine Mexican airfield of which the Sinaloa cartel has many in the country. Instead, according to a Homeland Security investigation official, a senior ranking member of the cartel tricked him, and they flew him to an airstrip not far from El Paso instead. He thought he was being flown to a Mexican airstrip, and what he got sent to a landing strip that was just near El Paso, just across the New Mexican border. It is probably a remote landing place. He probably didn't know. And when he got off the plane, there they were with handcuffs waiting to take them into custody. Is that not priceless? Upon landing on the tarmac, agents from the HSI, that's the Homeland Security Investigations, and the FBI arrested El Mayo and Guzman. It had been planned for months. They were placed in handcuffs by FBI agents during an operation culminating at an airstrip not far from El Paso. I've got the exact location here. Yes. According to the flight plan, the private plane that was used to transport the two men traveled from Hermosillo, Sonora, to Santa Teresa, New Mexico. They landed in New Mexico, out there in the middle of nowhere, not far from El Paso, and they were waiting. They got tricked. Somebody on the inside was helping them on this thing. The pilot tricked them, and they didn't know where they were landing. They thought they were landing in some other place in Mexico. I just think that's priceless. That is absolutely priceless. We still have a problem, though, a big problem. Many of the people, even if they are able to pull back on the number of people coming in right now, we still have 11 million people who are coming into this country. And in Baltimore, for example, the local Fox affiliate there has done an investigation, and they found that a lot of the sex crimes that are happening in Baltimore County, which is where the city of Baltimore is located, involve people who came to this country illegally.
In Baltimore County, undocumented immigrants, according to police, are behind a troubling number of child sex offenses over a span of 17 months. Fox 45 researchers found 10% of those sexually charged with abuse were minors and were non-citizens.
Digging deeper into this data, Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor joins us live now with more. Rebecca?
Yeah, Mary and Kai, that 10% is alarming all on its own. But in digging into these cases further, Fox 45 researchers also found that not only do non-citizens make up a large percentage of these child sex offense cases, but they're also receiving seemingly low sentences from Baltimore County judges. According to Fox 45 researchers, from the start of last year to May 2024, the Baltimore County State's Attorney's Office bringing charges against 99 people for sexually abusing minors, nearly 10% of which federal immigration officials say were living in the country illegally, despite non-citizens only making up about 3% of the total U.S. population. Maryland's ICE Director Matthew Elliston.
So our first case is the child molester. He's
saying for the last 2 years, the Baltimore field office leads the nation in sex offense arrests. Back in June, Fox 45's cameras capturing the 105th arrested so far this fiscal year. 39-year-old Luis Portillo Henriquez, accused of repeatedly raping a 14-year-old family member and convicted of a felony charge. And yet, it didn't take long for him to end up back on the street.
Another great example of Maryland judges giving out awkward sentences.
Listen to this, because she's beginning to tell you another part of the story, which is not only that we have a problem with people who come to this country and commit sex offenses, but that the judges are not doing their job.
In this case, a Baltimore County judge suspending all but 18 months of his 25-year sentence.
25 years, and he serves 18 months.
And Fox 45 uncovering at least 4 other cases just like it. This man, accused of sexually abusing a girl between the ages of 8 and 11, also sentenced to 25 years, but only 18 months required to be served behind bars. These 2 men, both accused of molesting 2 close family members, sentenced to just 5 years probation. And this man, accused of repeatedly raping and assaulting a 7-year-old girl, receiving a stat disposition, meaning the case wouldn't go to court at all unless he violates certain conditions.
I mean, that is troubling right there. And Baltimore is about one of the most liberal places you're ever going to be, and the judges there are very liberal. But if somebody is sentenced to a sex crime and they get convicted and it's 18 months and they serve, it's 25 years and they serve 18 months. There's something wrong with that. And I wish I could tell you it was better here in Nashville, but it's not. We have our own case here involving a guy who was run over by an illegal immigrant.
We're going to be looking at a situation where, in particular, we don't need to build a wall. This is a crisis of his own.
I apologize. That's the wrong cut. But we do have another case like that right here. Oh, here it is. This is it right here.
Fox 17 News has learned the man accused of killing a Nashville restaurant owner is an illegal immigrant with a criminal record. Agents tell Fox 17 News 24-year-old Ulysses Rigos Martinez came here illegally from Mexico. He is the person now facing charges in the death of Smoke and Thighs owner Matthew Carney. Fox 17 News also has confirmed that he has, as I mentioned, a criminal history, and a judge is accused of dismissing 3 charges against him during a preliminary hearing back in March. This story continues to develop, and as it does, we'll keep you posted both on air and online.
All right, so what you have there is an example of how around this country we are seeing that the people who are coming here, not all of them are bad, evil people, but some of them are. A great number of them are not good people at all. And sex crimes are up across the country, and judges aren't doing the job. They're not doing the job in Baltimore County. They're not doing the job in Davidson County. In 2019, Kamala Harris had some things to say about Donald Trump when he was president and about the border wall that Trump wanted to build. Looking back at what she said in 2019, it doesn't seem to age well, shall we say.
We don't need to build a wall. This is a crisis of his own making. And by definition, just plain speak, basic English language definition, it is not an emergency. What's going to end up happening is that he will end up, without any question, if he proceeds, we're going to be looking at a situation where, in particular, homeowners and landowners in places like New Mexico and Texas are probably going to look at government taking their land.
I think they'd be very happy to have that wall right now.
We're looking at military resources being focused, again, on the president's vanity project.
Vanity project?
Instead of focused on real national security issues. This is irresponsible. It's the height of irresponsibility for the commander-in-chief to suggest that we have to build a wall across our southern border because there are terrorists who are trying to invade the country. It couldn't be farther from the truth.
In 2019, she says, hey, look, don't worry. There's not any terrorists who are trying to invade the country. We don't need that wall. Now, of course, she was attacking Donald Trump, who was running for re-election at the time, right? But the bottom line is we did need that wall. And she has been, these words from 2019 do not age well at all. It shows how poor her judgment is with regard to the border. This is the woman who ultimately became the border czar, though they try to deny that she was ever the border czar now. And it seems to me that this border situation, they're going to try to put lipstick on the pig, but it's still a pig. It's still a real problem. And so they can arrest people, but the number of people who are still in this country are still a problem. And an example of how every town in America is really now a border town, even right here in Nashville, Tennessee. 21 now, past the hour. Grace Point Healthcare. Listen, if you need to get to affordable and comprehensive and convenient medical care, this is where you need to go. That's what they do. Affordable, comprehensive, convenient. And by the way, it's delivered the old-fashioned way. If you're starting to think about back-to-school sports physicals or back-to-school checkups for the kids, Grace Point provides complete physicals for kids of all ages. If you're scheduling an international vacation or a mission trip, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and all other international immunization protocols. And because they will see you the same day or the next day, you won't have to wait days or weeks to see a doctor. That's modern medicine at your convenience. Listen, they are located on Main Street in Franklin, and here's the number, 615-599-6868 to schedule your appointment.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
The case of an alleged neo-Nazi accused of assault at a downtown Nashville bar, it moves to a grand jury. And we'll also have today's closing money news. That comes up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
26 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson is in the chair and on the air. And I just want to mention that one of the things we've done this week in the wake of a tremendous amount of unbelievable news, that has occurred over the last 10 days or so. I mean, 10, 15 days have just been unbelievable. Every day there's something big, there's something new, and some of there's a lot of bad information out there. last night I had a conversation with someone, and let me just give you this as an example. Now, you may have seen it if you go on Facebook or if you go on social media, that people are sending around a note that 6,000 marshals are now headed toward D.C. They've been called to D.C. 6,000 marshals. Something is up. Well, first of all, I can't find a legitimate source for that information. And I was talking to somebody online, said, "Are you sure about this? Because this doesn't sound right." And then I did a little research. There are 94 marshals and about 4,000 deputy marshals and investigators in the Marshal Service. There aren't even 6,000 who could possibly be called. So right then and there, it took me 15 seconds to find out that information and learn that it really wasn't true. And so as a result of this, I just want to say to you, there are people out there who are roiling the waters and putting in bad information. Some of them may be our international enemies on the world stage, people like Russia and China, just trying to stir the pot with a bunch of stuff that's nonsense. Be careful. You know, I mean, look, I hate to even sort of, talk about these things because all I do is I irritate people who are convinced that this is going to happen. Now, look, if I'm wrong about this, I'll come back and tell you that I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I mean, you can knock down a lot of this stuff that you see out there if you just do a little bit of research. It doesn't take long. And people, well, I saw it several places. That doesn't mean it's legitimate. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of them. The other, of course, there were all these rumors about what's happening, with the investigation. Look, there was no second shooter. It's very clear. 8 shots were fired by the assailant. They found 8 cartridges on the roof, and the people who arrived on the roof were not the FBI, but the local police. Do you trust the local police? I do. Why in the world you have them showing up with their body cams and they're counting the cartridges as they arrive? There were 8 shots fired by the shooter, and there are only 10 shots total, and the other 2 came from the people who were counter snipers, local and Secret Service, which did the shot that took out the shooter. So, I mean, the 10 shots that we heard, that everybody heard on the tape, are all accounted for now. So there wasn't a second shooter. I'm sorry. So when I do this, I want to make sure that you're getting good information, and you need to be very careful about the stuff you're reading online because a lot of it is just nonsense. And so because of that, this week, what I've been trying to do is open up the phone lines and have a conversation with you. And if you've got questions about things that you've read, I don't want to be the fact checker for the world, but I mean, I'm telling you, you need to be careful about the stuff that you take as fact, because a lot of the stuff that's out there is just really bad information. And I'm sorry that, you may want to believe it and it may fit into your narrative, but it doesn't mean that it's true. All right. So, again, I don't know, you're going to be mad at me no matter, there's no percentage of me having this conversation, really, but I do want to let you know that as we have done every day this week, we are going to open up the phone lines here in a few minutes. We're going to have conversations. If you have something about the shooting, you have something about politics, I was right about Michelle. She's not going to be the nominee. Maybe I've got a thing or two going. Maybe I got some other stuff right, too. Let's find out. Again, the phone lines will open after the news right now, 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
Good afternoon. It's 4:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We've got clouds, some scattered showers, 75 degrees now in Music City. The forecast and a traffic update are on the way. The case of an alleged neo-Nazi accused of assaulting a downtown bar employee in Nashville is now headed to a grand jury.
29-year-old Ryan McCann of Ontario, Canada, was in court yesterday to face charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and disorderly conduct. The judge sent the case to the grand jury to decide if there's enough evidence to show that a crime was committed. Police say McCann got into a fight while marching with a group of people carrying Nazi flags at 3rd and Broadway. The bar employee, 19-year-old Diego Buck, was hit in the face and ribs with one of the flags. Buck was also arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and resisting police. Ken Weaver, WTN News.
We now turn to today's closing money news with Michelle Franzen.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Major stock indexes rallied to end a bumpy week with broad gains across big tech and smaller stocks Friday. News from 3M and other companies that earnings beat forecasts boosted markets. The Dow Jones was up more than 650 points or 1.6%. The S&P 500 gained 1.1% and the Nasdaq rose 1%. Treasury yields fell on news that inflation fell to 2.5%, stoking expectations that the Federal Reserve could cut interest rates later this year. Airline catering workers are threatening to strike as soon as Tuesday. Workers at Gate Gourmet, which provides food and drinks to flights at 30 U.S. airports, are asking for pay raises and better health insurance. And as the Summer Olympic Games open in Paris, the city's small business owners, tight security measures are restricting visitor foot traffic in shops, cafes, and bars.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather, they are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, folks, did you know that gold is up 78% over the last 5 years? Silver's up 99% in that same time period. Meanwhile, the U.S. dollar has lost 25% of its value since 2020. This government-induced inflation is stealing your wealth, and it doesn't seem that Washington, D.C. has any plans to stop. Gold and other precious metals are a great shield against that inflation theft. During an election year, the politicians will promise that they'll rein in their spending, but that's campaign talk. They haven't been able to stop it, and they probably won't. That's why no matter who is in office, gold protects you from the D.C. spending spree. Where do you go to get that protection? Well, reach out to my friends Kyle and Hannah at Nashville Gold & Coin. They will take good care of you, keep you well informed on all precious metals. Please act now and get your shield against out-of-control government spending. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com and set up your appointment today. It is 37 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I am Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and it's time for a little thing we like to call Phone Your Farb Friday. What's on your mind? 615-737-9986. You know, we've been doing this all week, but this is the regular Friday edition of Phone Your Farb Friday. Maybe you have a bee in your bonnet, maybe you have a burr in your saddle, maybe you have a bug in a place where, you know, you really should never, ever have a bug. Hey. Just get on our 100,000-watt soapbox and express yourself. Maybe, you know, you want to take umbrage. Maybe you want to talk about the things that are going on in the news. We'll take on all comers. And maybe you want to take umbrage with something I said. 615-737-9986. We got a couple of lines that are still open. You know what we really love? We love first-time callers. Been a lot of first-time callers this week. Love that. Want to hear more about that. So, give us a call, 615-737-9986. Steve in Murfreesboro. Steve, you're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Steve?
Hey, Brian, you was talking about there not being a second shooter. The picture of where Trump's standing at the podium and he has his head turned to his right.
Yeah.
And you could see where the bullet had passed to his left. It's like the little white streak.
Yeah.
If the shooter was on the roof, would that not be in a downward trajectory instead of an even plane?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how high the podium was compared to where he was, and how the greater the distance, the less acute that angle would be. So it seems to me that it could be. I don't know, but I know this. The first officers that arrived on the scene were local police, not the Secret Service, local police. And in their body cam video, but go back and watch it, you hear them count out the 8 cartridges that were laying on the roof. There were only 10 shots, and 2 of them came from counter snipers. So how can there possibly be a second shooter? There are only 10 shots heard. So I don't know how to make it any clearer. It's very clear. And by the way, there were eyewitnesses who said that all of the shots that they saw came from the shooter. They saw him fire the shots. So, I mean, I can't buy into this second shooter thing. I just can't.
I agree with you on all that.
Yeah, I just can't see. I can't see any other evidence. But I mean, who knows? By the way, they're talking today. Big discussion about the bullet that hit Trump. They say it may have been fragmented. In other words, they say it may not have been an actual bullet, but a fragment of a bullet because it may have hit something first. Now, it didn't hit the teleprompter glass. But there are metal stands there that hold the teleprompter in place. Maybe it hit the metal there. And so maybe that is why the streak we see is sort of, maybe it's the fragment of a bullet. Who knows? They're doing that analysis now, but they say it was a bullet, but it may have actually fragmented because it may have hit something else first. We'll see what comes out of that. Thank you for the call. Danny in Lebanon, you're on with Brian on the drive, same topic.
Good afternoon, Brian.
Hey.
I'm a first caller this week. But anyway, having said that, I am convinced the Secret Service was probably behind this. And the reason I say that is because he was allowed to get on the roof. He was allowed to take pop shots. And how many shots would he have gotten out if it wasn't for the local shooters that did take him out?
Well, ultimately, it was a Secret Service sharpshooter, counter sniper, who took him out.
Yeah, that way he couldn't talk after the fact. That's the problem. They were going to let him do what he had to do before they took him out, and he just wasn't aware of it.
You really believe, you honestly, truly believe that?
100%, Brian. You can disagree with me all you want, but, I mean, they're not that ignorant. I mean, they refused the drone. They didn't want a drone in the air. They're not that stupid, Brian. You've worked with them. You know that they're not that
Well, I know
believe
that.
it was a deliberate setup.
I know that the Secret Service I worked with seemed to be a lot sharper than that. I don't know what has happened to that agency since I left. I mean, I haven't been there in more than 10 years. So I haven't worked around the Secret Service in more than 10 years. So I don't know what may have happened in the intervening 10 years, but the Secret Service I knew back in the day when I was covering presidential events was a much sharper organization than what seems to have evolved that day on Butler, in Butler, Pennsylvania. I don't know, but I can't bring myself to believe that. I just can't. But I respect your right to have that opinion. How about Lenny out on the road? Lenny, what do you say?
Well, on the same topic, I believe this whole thing was orchestrated by the deep state, which is the military-industrial complex. And the military-industrial complex is basically all about the money, and they're trying to go ahead and take Trump out because he's going to defund the war and the money to Ukraine.
Well, I mean, you can have that opinion, but what's your evidence for that?
It's obvious.
No. You can't just say, well, it's obvious, because it's not obvious to me.
It's obvious that Trump is going to stop the funding. Right?
I don't know. He's been very supportive of the military in the past. I don't know that he's going to stop this.
The military-industrial complex is different than the military. The military-industrial complex makes the weapons. And those are the guys who have the financial interest to maintain these wars.
Well, it's your theory, but you have no evidence of this. It's just an opinion.
Well, of course there's no evidence, but do you believe that Trump he's already said he's going to stop the funding to Ukraine. Have you heard that?
Well, I'm an opinion guy, but when I'm talking about things like this, I try to go with what I got in the way of evidence, and I see no evidence of this.
I'm going to ask you again. Did Trump say he's going to stop the funding for Ukraine?
Well, yes, he has said that he's going to pull back on Ukraine. He says he's going to solve the Ukraine thing, so we don't need to send any more equipment.
No, he's going to solve it by stopping the funding. This whole war is a mess, and it wouldn't have happened had someone been stronger in the White House. But the bottom line is, these wars are all started by the military-industrial complex. Vietnam and every war we're in, it's not about the ideology. That's bullshit. It's all about the money. And, the bottom line is these people are evil. They'll send our kids to war just for the money. They don't give a shit about
What? You can't say that word on the air. Did we get it? Thank you. I'm sorry. I know you're passionate, and I know you feel strongly about that, but we can't use that language on the air. The only one who has ever been bleeped before you, I think, was me, because that's a good word, and I like to use it. Let's go to Chris in Goodlettsville. Hello, Chris. You're on with Brian on the drive. What do you say, Chris?
Hey, Brian. This is completely off the subject that's been going on here, but I've been seeing Megan Barry for Senate signs around town. Is she running for Senate, and how is that possible?
Not Senate. She's running for Congress, I think.
Congress. Okay, yeah, maybe. I had them mixed up there, maybe. But
no. She's running. She's running against Mark Green.
Yeah, that just seems odd to me after her big scandal as the Nashville mayor, and still in the political field, and it just seems very odd to me. That's been out there for a while, my friend. She decided that she wanted to dip her toe back in the water. Now, I think, quite frankly, she's doing it just to get her name out there. I mean, I don't think in the way these congressional districts are cut, and I don't think she's going to have much luck against Mark Green. I think he's a very respected member of the House as a Republican, but we'll see what happens. But I think really this is like putting her toe in the water so she can say, well, they can throw everything they want to throw at me this time. Next time it will be old news and they can't do it again. But, we'll continue. She is running, and she has been running against Mark Green for some time now. All right. How about Tim, also out on the road? Hey, Tim, what's up?
Hey, Brian, how's it going today?
It's going well. What do you think, buddy?
I've got a question for you. I have heard that Netflix has given a boatload of money to the Harris campaign, and I can't find anything on it. Have you heard anything about it?
Again, this is one of those things you see. You read it where? I'm curious.
I've read it on a couple of news apps that I have, but nothing in the story gives you any solid information.
Yeah, that's the problem. Now, I have seen those memes as well, or I've seen people claiming that to be the case. I don't know. If you can't find a legitimate story on it, it has to come from somewhere. And look, a $7 million campaign contribution is a sizable campaign contribution. And if that were true, then you would be able to find some news organization that has covered that or mentions it. And I can't find it either. Maybe I'm wrong. But look, I have seen that. I've looked around. I don't see the source material on that. Folks, just find out what the source is and find out if you think that source is credible. And, of course, a lot of people don't believe the news media these days, and I understand why. But, I mean, there is conservative news media as well that are legitimate. They dig into stuff like that. That'd be a great story for somebody like Newsmax. That'd be a great story for somebody like Fox. That'd be a great story for somebody like the New York Post. And I can't find anybody covering that story. Again, maybe there is a legitimate element to it, but I've not seen it. I can't be, the clearinghouse for all information, but again, there's a lot of stuff out there that you need to be careful about. I really feel that. Thanks for the call, though, Tim. And if I find anything, I'll come to air with it. I will. Erwin in Nashville, you're up with Brian on the Drive.
Yeah, Brian, it's about hillbilly elegy.
Yeah, the book and the movie, right?
Correct. Now, number one, if it wasn't for Mima, JD wouldn't be a Harvard graduate. That's number one. Number two, JD, I hope he's not going to do the same stuff as he did it in the movie, stealing the sports card. Now, the mom also stole some cassettes toward the end of the movie.
Right.
And so that's what I was trying to.
Well, I think it was an honest account of how he could have gotten in some real trouble, but his mawmaw, he's not a meemaw. I had a meemaw. Did you have a meemaw?
Well, how do you pronounce it? Mamaw?
Mamaw or mamaw.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the mom. I'm talking about the grandmother.
Yeah, the grandmother. Yeah, her mamaw.
He would have not made it.
Yeah, that's right. She was the one who put him on the straight and narrow, and he also came to realize that he was making mistakes with his life, and his mamaw, I think it is, got him on the right path. It's a dark movie, but it ends up well at the end. But I mean, it's hard to watch at times. I've not read the book, and I would like to go back. And when I have some time, I'm going to try to read the book Hillbilly Elegy, which tells the story of J.D. Vance. All right, thank you so much for the calls. Greatly appreciated. 50 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
I started working in the early 60s, and Tennessee had a deer stalking program already in place going, primarily from Clarksville Base within the Fort Campbell area. From that area, a lot of deer were stalked in Middle and West Tennessee, and then later on, we started taking deer from those areas and stalking other areas. So it was a progression. It moved pretty fast. The deer sometimes were faster than the stalkers were.
I bet that was pretty exciting trying to trap those deer and move them and know that you're making a huge impact.
Well, we wasn't all that confident.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of the counties had dog problems. You know, they'd be wanting to dog the deer, and it didn't hold up under that kind of pressure. And we had to go back in and restock. And there was a lot of different types of law enforcement work that had to be done.
I hear you.
And the officers did a good job. And we talked to a lot of the judges, and they clamped down pretty hard on somebody poaching deer out there. Back then, we only put out 15 or 20 deer. It was critical. In fact, at that time, it could cost you your truck.
Yeah. It's an amazing success story. You hear folks saying, well, we didn't see a deer when I was a kid, and now you just have to walk out your back door and you got in a subdivision grazing or driving down the interstate highways or whatever, you see a deer just about every day.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if we're too efficient.
Some folks say back in the good old days, but I don't know. Right now, hunting and fishing is really good.
Is the Pennsylvania governor in line to be Harris's VP pick? Well, there are signs that could be the case. Former President Trump sharpening his criticism of the vice president, and fires out west continue to rage out of control. We'll have those stories at 5 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, Jay Harper in the newsroom. Chris Weber behind the microphone there, behind the glass, making sure all the blinky buttons work. We thank you so much for being there. Coming up in the next hour, we'll hit all of the 2024 news you need to know. There are some things breaking late this afternoon, and we'll get right into them at the top of the 5 o'clock hour, right after the news. It is 57 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock.
Good afternoon. It's 5 p.m. Happy Friday. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy. We are at 79 degrees. A full forecast for the weekend and the latest traffic report are on the way. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro headlined a rally for Vice President Kamala Harris today in Philadelphia. The swing state governor is under consideration to become Harris's VP pick. The event was hosted by local unions in building and construction. There, Shapiro said if elected, Harris will be a president unions can rely on.
Donald Trump went to court, the Supreme Court, and asked to make this nation a right-to-work nation. Let me be clear, I'll never let Pennsylvania be a right-to-work state, and Kamala Harris will never let this nation be a right-to-work nation.
Former President Trump sharpening his criticism on the VP, calling her a radical left person who destroyed San Francisco. Trump saying that while meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago today, well, ABC's Perry Russum, he has more on that, and he's in D.C.
Hello, everybody. Former President Trump sitting across the table from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
We've always had a very
good relationship.
Trump asked about Vice President Kamala Harris's meeting with Netanyahu this week, where Harris says she raised serious concern about the scale of human suffering in Gaza, including the deaths of what she says are far too many innocent civilians.
I think her remarks were disrespectful.
Trump adding,
I actually don't know how a person who's Jewish can vote for her.
Amid red flag fire conditions, Northern California's Park Fire burning near the city of Chico, California. It's still getting bigger. Conditions are explosive in the region. ABC's Alex Stone is in California.
Now rising to 178,000 acres of fire, making that jump in only 3 days. That's 278 square miles, bigger than the city of Chicago that has now burned. Firefighters had a tiny bit of containment on Thursday. That's been lost. Back at 0%, surrounded by fire line. At least 134 buildings have burned. Firefighters don't know how many of those were homes.
If you have to do some back-to-school shopping, well, this weekend, if you go out, you could save a little money. Tennessee's traditional sales tax holiday on clothing, school supplies, and computers is currently underway. It ends at 11:59 p.m. this Sunday. During this time, school supply items up to $100, as well as clothing up to that price as well, and computers costing up to $1,500 may be purchased tax-free. Items must be purchased for personal use and not for business or for trade. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Hour number 3 of the drive now underway on this Friday. I'm ready for a weekend. How about you? Catch your breath and catch up on some yard work. I hope you're having a good week so far and that you're getting home safely. We'll try to get you some information. And now, we were just talking in our last segment where we took phone calls. By the way, we'll do that again at 5:35. Open up the phones again. If you didn't get through the first time, try again. People were asking about Netflix, and I said I had not seen anything authoritative. I now have seen something authoritative, and it's not exactly what you think. There's a guy by the name of Reed Hastings who co-founded Netflix in 1997. He stepped down as the chief executive officer in, 2003. Is that what I read? Yeah, something like that. He gave $7 million. Now, he does technically now serve as the chief chairman, the executive chairman of the Netflix board. But it was a personal donation made by him to the amount of $7 million. He co-founded Netflix in 1997, stepped down as CEO in 2023, now serves as the executive chairman of the Netflix board. It was not Netflix itself which made the donation, but this guy named Reed Hastings. It's the largest single donation he made. He gives a lot to Democrats. And so there's the truth. I mean, is Netflix tangentially involved? Yes, but the money did not come from Netflix. It came from the guy who stepped down as the CEO of Netflix in 1997 and now serves as the executive chairman of the board. But it's a personal donation, not a Netflix donation. So take that for what it's worth. And that came from Reuters, by the way. And thank you to a sharp-eyed listener who sent it to me during the break. So, you know what, again, if you dig around, you can find the answers to these things. It's when you have a hard time. Like, for example, I told you about the 6,000 marshals are about to descend on D.C. They've been summoned to D.C. Well, there aren't even 6,000 marshals in the entire United States. You know, there's 94 of them that are actual marshals. Deputy marshals and investigators come to about 4,000. So that means that every single marshal in the whole United States would be coming to Washington, D.C., and they would not be out there doing the things that the marshals do, which is arrest bad guys. You know, so again, you can find out if you just do a little digging, some of this stuff, and there we go. That's the story there. Now, you can make a decision about whether you want to watch Netflix or not based on that, but it wasn't a donation by Netflix. I don't know. And this guy, look, I'm not criticizing you. I understand you feel passionately about it. You're so passionate that you dropped the S word on the radio, which we can't have. I get that. I understand you're passionate, but let me just ask a sort of obvious question. If it's the military industrial complex that was trying to take out Trump, don't you think that the mighty military industrial complex would find somebody other than a 20-year-old kid who can't shoot well to carry this out? I mean, don't you think they would get, I mean, if you're the mighty military industrial complex, don't you think you could come up with a professional sniper? I mean, you're the military complex after all. You got all those contacts. I just can't go there with you. So again, I'm not demeaning your position on this, but I'm just saying, folks, the conspiracy stuff, at times it just wears me out because, look, we may find out there's more to this story than we have found so far. But what it looks like to me right now is a guy who was very troubled, and he tried to do something, and he got incredibly lucky because the Secret Service was not as diligent as they should have been on many, many levels. And my take on it is so far, and again, I reserve the right to change my opinion if new information comes forward, but the information I'm getting so far suggests that something has happened to the Secret Service, I think under the direction of Kimberly Cheadle, where they lost sight of their primary mission, which is to protect those people that they're supposed to be protecting, their protectees. And they lost sight of that. And they got off into a bunch of other stuff, maybe some DEI, maybe some other stuff. I don't know what it was, but they just lost sight of their core mission. And I think perhaps that they had people who were not as sharp as they have been in the past. I think maybe the standards have been diminished in some way for people who, and I think maybe, I like I say, I haven't been in Washington around presidential events for about 10 years or more. So maybe over the time, slowly but surely the quality of people has diminished. But I just can't bring myself to say that the Secret Service wanted to see him killed. I just can't bring myself to say that based on the evidence. I think they were sloppy. I think it was unbelievably sloppy. I don't know why they were sloppy. But this kid should have been stopped in about 5 different places. He should have been stopped when he was flying the drone. He should have been stopped when he had the range finding scope. And by the way, another thing about that kid, everybody talks about overseas accounts. He has overseas accounts. They're apparently I'm going to admit to you that I'm a little fuzzy on this because they've been a little fuzzy about it, but I'm getting the impression they were not bank accounts. They were, communication apps that had a foreign base, like WhatsApp and some others that he was on. So, I just think that this was one of those weird things where he just went undetected, never should have been undetected. They never should have left that roof uncovered. And in fact, the roof sort of was covered by the local sharpshooters who were in a building that overlooked that roof. But they went away. They left their post to go see if they could find this guy because the suspicions had been raised about him. And they weren't there when he climbed up on the roof. I mean, it just, everything fell sort of in a weird way that this guy was able to get off 8 shots. Thank God that he wasn't a very good shot. Thank God those police officers rattled his cage before he started firing shots, because I think the adrenaline and the nervousness made him rush his shot, and I think he took bad shots, and I think those police officers from the Butler Police Department who climbed up and poked their head over that roof may have actually saved Donald Trump's life. I truly believe that. So, again, many, many questions, a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense here. We know a couple of things. By the way, Trump's going back to Butler. He announced that he's going to go back on his social media platforms. He announced, I'm going back to honor the guy who died, Mr. Comparatori, and Comparator, I think it is, and they're going to go back and honor him in a rally. So will they go back to the Butler farm? I bet not. But he's going back to Butler. I think that's nice. Kamala Harris today got the endorsement. It took a while of Barack and Michelle Obama. It came in I don't know. This looks like a sort of an edited up deal. Allegedly came in a phone call to Kamala Harris today that went a little something. This has been edited up, but by them. But it went a little something like this apparently.
Kamala.
Hello. Hi.
Hey there.
Oh, hi. You're both together. Oh, it's good to hear you both.
I can't have this phone call without saying to my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic. We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh, my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me. I am looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road. But most of all, I just want to tell you the words you have spoken and the friendship that you have given over all these years mean more than I can express. So thank you both. It means so much. And we're going to have some fun with this too, aren't we?
Have some fun, I guess. I don't know. But it's the fun Kamala is gone. Where is the cackling Kamala? Where did she go? I mean, when she was there the other day, But all of a sudden now she's very serious all the time. But the good news is the Wayback Machine has plenty of examples of Kamala, being that person. And she'll come back. I think, Chris, you have it right. She can't help herself.
Oh, it's going to come out. Yeah.
It's just part of her personality.
Yep.
Yeah, that she was going to forget, what they did was they did a focus group, folks. They got people together in a room and said, what do you think about Kamala Harris? Well, that cackle, first thing that came up, I'm sure. Goodness Lord, will you get her to stop cackling? And so I think she got that word, and she's not cackling anymore. She comes out in a rather disciplined way, comes out. She's somber, she's sober, she's the serious Kamala, and she doesn't laugh, she doesn't cut up, she doesn't look like a braying donkey. She just comes out and does hits her mark, reads the teleprompter, and leaves. And that's what you're going to get. That's the Kamala you're going to get. But we remember the old Kamala. Don't worry about that. By the way, this phoner from Barack and Michelle Obama. Two things. Number one, it feels like it was like scripted, doesn't it? Very stilted, very awkward. Here, the campaign's here. We want you to say these things. So they send over a copy and and I'm not even sure it was an actual phone call. I think they may have edited it so it sounded like a phone call. But I think they were given language to read. Something, my girl Kamala. The second thing that I have to point out, Michelle Obama is not going to be the nominee. Okay, folks, can we acknowledge that I was right about that? Okay. James Carville says, look, I know that Democrats are all excited and they're all up in arms and they're just giddy. He says they're giddy, but we need to be careful because it's still a fight. There's going to be a long fight ahead, he's telling Democrats.
To be the skunk at the garden party. This is too triumphalist, okay? This is everybody's giddy. I look at the coverage and it's great, and if I had to write a play about what I think it's going to be like, it would be entitled The Ice Pick Cometh, okay? Get ready, they're coming, all right? And it's good, everybody should feel good and liberated and everything else. But if we don't win the election, we hadn't done anything. We haven't changed the temperature in America, we haven't changed anything. And I think the vice president, I hope that, her campaign is getting ready. I hope they'll listen to my friend and fellow New Orleanian, Don Brazil, who actually, I think, has the same kind of view of politics that I do. And they're coming at us, and they're going to keep coming. And this kind of giddy elation is not going to be very helpful much longer because that's not what we're going to be faced with.
That's not what we're going to be faced with. They're going to come at us with the ice pick cometh, he says. Well, look, I think there's plenty, and it's not hard to come up with the topics to go after her with. Just look at her record. A lot of talk about will there be a debate. Here is Representative Jason Crow, representing and speaking on behalf of Kamala Harris, versus Alina Habba on Fox today about whether or not there will be debate. There's a bunch of back and forth on that.
Well, there needs to be a debate, and Vice President Harris has said she's ready. Let's do this, right? So we can figure this out. We can figure this out quickly. There's no reason it needs to be drawn out. The American people deserve to see the contrast. Well, there's going to be plenty of opportunity to see from the candidates, both individually and hopefully together. Vice President Harris, again, has made it very clear she's ready to do this. She's ready to debate.
There is one thing you cannot call President Trump, and that is a fearful person, especially after what has transpired for him for the last 2 weeks. So I'm insulted and offended by those comments and remarks. Secondly, he's not only not afraid, bring it on, and bring it on under American terms, not under CNN and your stations with your terms and mics off because you're afraid. Number one. Number two, we've got a vice president who is not the candidate yet. Also, by the way, everyone's getting excited. This is the same person that never went to the border, never did anything. There is nothing to be afraid about. She has a record. Her record speaks for itself. It's a big zero. So, no, President Trump is not afraid. I love those sentiments. Maybe he got talking points about the Sleepy Joe portion and got confused. We're talking about President Trump, the same man that got shot in the ear, stood up, put his hand up and said, fight. They're talking about the wrong person. One thing he's not is afraid.
So, there you go. Is there going to be a debate? Yes. Where's it going to be? I don't know. They're talking about the terms. It's all a big negotiation at this point. But I think there'll be a debate probably around September 10th. Not clear at all who's going to be the host of the debate. Not clear at all where the debate is going to be held. Not clear who the moderators are going to be. There's so many things to work out. Will they stand? Will they sit? That's the kind of negotiations that are going on right now. But I think they'll get together for a debate. It is now 22 minutes past the hour.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Donald Trump heading back to Butler. And a missing firefighter plane in Oregon has been located, but it is not good news. We'll have those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, just I have a minute here before we go to our second round of Phone Your Farb Friday, and I'm sure that you're going to have some. I'm sure that some of the things I've said in the last few minutes are going to elicit a lot of phone calls. So if you have something you want to get online, it's 615-737-9986. Get stacked up and ready to go. We'll get to you in just a few minutes. But I wanted to share this story because it is personal to me. I have spoken to you about last year having a tremendous bout with shingles, and it was an ugly affair that it took me a long time. And in fact, quite frankly, I'm not completely over it even yet. It is. I had a very bad case of it, and I know that vaccines are sort of controversial these days, but the shingles vaccine has been around for a long time, and I just want to recommend to you that having gone through a really bad case of this, I can tell you, I would do anything to avoid having to go through that again. It was ugly. It is painful, and it is just a bad thing. And if you've talked to anybody who's ever had shingles, you're going to hear a similar story because it's, I had an extremely severe case of it. Other people have milder cases, and even the mild cases are really painful, and something you want to avoid. So if you're thinking about getting the shingles vaccine, from my perspective, I would say I wish I had gotten it. I wish I had. I didn't, and I can't take it until I completely get through with the last little bit of it that I have. Believe it, it's been more than a year, and I still have a little bit of it that I can't get rid of. So it's a bad thing. It's not horrible for me now, but it's still a problem. But this story came out that says that the latest shingles vaccine may also delay dementia. There may be new hope in the fight against dementia, according to recent research that found the latest shingles vaccine appears to delay the onset of the memory-impairing condition. In the study published in Nature Medicine on Thursday, researchers found people who got the vaccine lived on average an additional 164 days without a dementia diagnosis compared to those who received the previous shingle vaccine. So there's some new stuff out there. Apparently, they say that there's some indication it might have an impact on that. One way or the other, whether or not it helps you from getting dementia or not, I would take anything that would keep you from getting shingles. I wish I had done it when I turned, I think it's 50 or 55, you can get it. And I tell all my friends, dude, you do not want this. You just don't. So, I mention it again, and there's an interesting little story there that says maybe there is an extra additional benefit to some of the latest shingle vaccines that have come out. But I'll tell you something. It's the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I say that as someone who was run over by a truck once. I would rather be run over by a truck than have to go through shingles again. I mean that with all sincerity. It is now 30 minutes past the hour. Time for the news.
Good afternoon and happy Friday. It is 5:30 and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy. We are at 79 degrees. Your weekend forecast and a traffic report are just moments away. The New York Post and other media outlets reporting that former President Donald Trump announced today that he will hold what he called, quote, a big and beautiful rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, marking a return to the town where he survived an assassination attempt just 2 weeks ago. While there, Trump plans to honor hero firefighter Corey Comparatori, who was killed in that July 13th shooting, as well as two other rally goers, James Copenhaver and David Dutch. They were seriously injured. It's unclear if Trump plans to visit the Butler Farm Showgrounds. That was the site of his other rally where the assassination attempt occurred. But in the wake of the assassination attempt against the former president, the Secret Service has recommended that the Trump campaign no longer schedule outdoor rallies. That's according to the Washington Post. So we'll have to see exactly where that Butler, PA rally does occur. We reported earlier that a firefighting plane in Oregon was missing. Well, sadly, The plane has crashed. The wreckage of the small firefighting airplane in Oregon has been found.
The small single-engine air tanker went missing on Thursday evening while heading to a spot fire ahead of wildfires burning that were started by lightning in Grant County, Oregon. Communication was lost with the tanker and search and rescue was launched, including by members of the Oregon National Guard. Now the Bureau of Land Management telling ABC News a wreckage of the plane has been found and the pilot is dead. Why it went down is not clear.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, listen, your air conditioners are getting the job done during these dog days of summer. If not, why don't you call the number I would call, 775-7833, and the good people at Busy Bee HVAC and Plumbing will come over to your house and they'll get you back up and running. They got some specials going on in the month of July. If you need to buy a new unit, here's the deal. You buy a new air conditioning unit and you qualify to win a free 3-day beach vacation giveaway to Savannah, Georgia, valued at $3,000. They will take care of gas, lodging, 2 meals a day, and they will announce the winner on Facebook Live. This is only for people who purchase a new air conditioning unit in July, and there will only be one winner. Now, if your air conditioner just needs a little touch-up, a little work, maybe, need some more of the coolant to put in it, why don't you call them and they will waive the $89 dispatch fee if you have some repair work done. If you become a member of the Beehive Club, which is something I highly recommend, so you can get checkups on your systems, 3 of them, one aimed at your plumbing, heating, one aimed at your cooling. You'll also get the ability to give someone in your neighborhood a free Beehive membership. That's right, free. The free membership must go to a family that lives near you in your neighborhood. If you need a big project, a HVAC project, they can be expensive. They got 0% financing for 18 months. For plumbing, it's 0% for 72 months, both with approved credit. Your official Rude Pro partner, 615-775-7833. Learn more at busybhvac.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
It is 37 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, and you're listening to The Drive. We do this little thing on Fridays. We've been doing it a lot lately because there's so much to talk about. It's 615-737-9986 for a little thing we like to call Phone Your Farb Friday. All right, so it's time to phone your FARB, your friend and radio buddy, and let me know what's on your mind, 615-737-9986. Maybe you got a bee in your bonnet. Maybe you got a burr under your saddle. Maybe you have a bug in a very unpleasant place. So give us a call. Step up on our 100,000-watt soapbox and express yourself within boundaries. Don't make Chris use the little red button like he had to last time. All right, 615-737-9986. 9986. Samantha in Cookville, you're up first on The Drive. What do you say, Samantha?
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having my call here. I just wanted to know, so the Secret Service former director, Kimberly Cheadle, or however you say her name.
Cheadle, right.
Do you think that there'll still be any charges brought against her, or I'm sure, I would think the family might sue. I don't know,
Well, I don't think there'll be any legal sadly. Because I think that it's true dereliction of duty, the way she was running the Secret Service apparently. But I doubt it. Do you ever see government people held legally responsible for the things? What would be the charge? I guess is the thing. I don't know how you would prove it. So my guess is, since ultimately this is somebody who reports to the Justice Department, that the Justice Department won't have much appetite to bring any kind of legal action. But that doesn't mean a civil suit is not possible, and that could be possible. The family of Mr. Comparatore could bring some kind of lawsuit, I guess, perhaps for dereliction of duty. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the days ahead, but I doubt it. I really do. And it's a shame because people are never held accountable when they fail in government, especially in the Biden administration. Scott in Hendersonville. Hey, Scott, what's up with you, buddy? What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian, I got a question for you, man.
Okay.
And since you're an experienced person in the news media, my question is, I've been wondering this for a little while. If you split up if you look at the people who are dedicated to their party, you look at the polls, 49, 46, 48, 44, of the people that are committed, take the undecideds out of the loop. It's pretty much, it's close to 50-50.
Yeah, I agree.
I've always wondered why, if you take all of the news media outlets, all your alphabet soups, your ABC, CBS, CNN, all of those, and you look at viewership compared to Fox News and a few other conservative outlets, it's nowhere near 50-50. It's more like 75-25. What's the reason behind that, and why aren't there more conservative outlets?
Well, we got a couple of really good ones now. We got Fox and we have Newsmax. I was not a big fan of the early days of Newsmax, but I've become a fan. I really like what they're doing over there. I have friends that work over there, and they're breaking some stories. We have a lot of places to go. I look through a ton of places every day. I look at both sides because I want to know what the other side is saying. But there's a ton of places to go for, I think, good, reliable news and information. And on the web, for example, there are some legitimate conservative organizations that do good work. I can give you a couple. The Washington Examiner is a good one. I think Real Clear Politics, although they report the polls in a fair and balanced way, I think that they also give you a pretty balanced look at what's going on by the stories that they post and the links they give you. So there's a good place to go. I look at a lot of places, and there are places to go, but you're right. I've always been sort of surprised by that. I saw the numbers for what was it? The president's speech the other night. Fox won the cable news rating, so you got MSNBC and CNN out there, and you add those numbers together, and they don't beat Fox. But however, I also noticed that the ABC, CBS, NBC, the old original three, and I guess maybe the Fox News, not the Fox News channel, but the Fox affiliates around the country, they had much bigger numbers. I mean, ABC won the night. So I don't know how that is. It is a 50-50 nation. It's very close to that. It has been for a long time. We're very close to a 50-50 nation. And again, the elections are decided by the people. If the Republicans vote Republican and Democrats vote Democrat, what makes the decision in a national race? It's the independents. And I know people don't like to hear that, but it's true. And you have to be able to make your case to the independents. I hope that answered you. I hope it answered your question. If not, we'll try to get it some other time. Alice, an Old Hickory. What's on your mind today, Alice?
Well, it's not on my mind. It's basically a question. I have a friend, she keeps emailing me saying that the news media outlets, including Fox, are saying that Trump is now regretting picking Vance. And I'm like going, I haven't heard anything. I'm going, I'm going to call you.
Well, I've seen stories that some people say it wasn't the right pick, and there's some people who say maybe there was a better pick. I don't know. I like the guy. I haven't seen anybody on Fox say that, but I have seen. They may have reported about other news organizations that were raising that question, but I don't think they have reported that. On their own. I think he's a good choice, and I think he's gonna resonate well in the Midwest. I think he's going to do very well in some of those states like Minnesota and Michigan. I think he'll resonate with grassroots voters, people out on the front lines. I like the guy. I don't have any problem with him whatsoever. In fact, quite frankly, the last three people who were apparently seriously considered were Burgum, Rubio, and J.D. Vance, and I would have been happy with either one of those three. But I'm happy that J.D. Vance is the guy. I think he's a good communicator, and ultimately, people don't make a decision based on the person who's the vice president. They generally make a decision about who is the person running for president. Okay, hope that helps you out a lot. Let's see. Ben in Ashland City. Hello, Ben. You're up next with The Drive. What's on your mind?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, listen, I want to talk about the lack of news coverage from the media on Benjamin Netanyahu. I was really interested in what this man had to say, and I watched several local stations, and it was not on. I heard more commentary on your radio than I did on the TV.
Yeah. So you're talking about local news or the network newscasts?
No, local news, like, Channel 2, Channel 5, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's not something they care much about. I mean, the local stations, they figure that if you care about that, you have gone and watched the ABC Nightly News, the World News Tonight, or you've seen the CBS Evening News with Norah O'Donnell, or you've watched Fox or CNN. They figure you've already seen that. So they focus more on local issues. Sometimes in their late newscast, they'll throw in some national news just in case you want to know what's going on in the world around you, but mostly, especially in the early evening hours, when you have your 4, your 5, your 6 o'clock newscasts, local news largely tries to do local issues. So you're probably, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, that's probably not the place that you're going to get a lot of coverage. Okay, does that help you?
But I did want to bring up the point. Are you still there?
Yeah, go ahead.
I voted for Trump twice, and I was skeptical the first time. I was like, do we not have any better choice than Donald Trump? But he proved himself, and when he started talking about the fake news, I thought he was out of his mind. But I think he has opened his eyes to millions of people about how biased and controlling the media really is.
It is shocking how the mainstream media, for example, right now are all rallying around Kamala. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Anyway, thank you for the call, Ben. Greatly appreciate it. Lisa in Murfreesboro. Hello, Lisa. You're on with Brian on the Drive.
Hello, Brian.
I love your show.
Well, thank you.
I love you.
Well, thank you.
But I do have to disagree with you on the shooter.
Okay, tell me why.
I think you're being extremely naive, and you've bought into the narrative. Look at all the things that went wrong that day. Look at the building, the roof that was exposed, and they were supposed to have people inside looking out the windows that were above the roof. That was 100% shot for even a basic person with an AR-15. The water tower wasn't covered.
Yeah,
there was no drone
That's
coverage.
a concern, by the way. I agree with you on that.
And so what I'm saying is, why would they not pick a 20-year-old registered Republican who only gave to a Democrat and groom him? And I'm sure they probably told him he'd be safe. And then who's
they?
I think it's the deep state. I honestly do. I think it's the FBI, the Secret Service. He didn't have that many Secret Service people around him. He had more Homeland Security. They hate Trump because he goes against the grain and he's breaking. They want to bring us to a one world rule.
Yeah, Lisa, I hear this from a lot of people, and I know that your opinion is I'm not going to condemn your opinion because you're entitled to your opinion. And I know that within the sound of my voice right now, there are a lot of people who say, damn right, Wilson, she's got it right and you've got it wrong. I hear that. I'm just not with you on it. I believe, because what I have seen I don't think you should underestimate the incompetence of people in the federal government. I think, you cannot underestimate just at times how dumb they can be. Now, everybody seems to think, well, they're the crack, they're the best, they're the Secret Service and all that. They have this wonderful reputation, and I think they have had a good reputation. I wonder, though, over the years, whether something has happened to that organization where maybe they got lackadaisical, maybe they got lazy, maybe they lost sight of their key mission. I don't know, but give it some time. I mean, the other day, everybody was absolutely certain that there was a second shooter, and it's absolutely been proven there was not a second shooter. It is beyond all the evidence is absolutely conclusive on this. There was one guy. Why do we know that? Because we got real evidence. Real evidence. So allow the evidence to come in before you make your decision. At the end of the day, if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to tell you I got it wrong and you were right. But I'm not there yet. And I think I have seen government incompetence on so many different levels over the years. I used to think if you worked in Washington, you had to have something going. You had to be the best and the brightest. Now, there's a lot of stupid people who work in government, and there's a lot of people who you'd think they're brighter than they are, but sometimes they're not. I think there are some good people in the Secret Service, but I think somewhere along the way, they lost sight of what their mission was, and they got sloppy, really, really sloppy. But that's my opinion, and again, I don't mean to condemn you for your opinion. I'm just not with you there. All right, 51 past the hour now. 5 o'clock. Are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Could be hard to believe. Many hardworking Americans just like you could be overpaying on taxes in retirement. You may be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, and any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you peace of mind. With the threat of a massive tax increase around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. There is no cost, there is no pressure, and there will be no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good evening. It is 1 minute past 6 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy, 80 degrees, a traffic report, and that weekend weather forecast is coming up. Former President Trump ramping up his criticism of Vice President Kamala Harris, calling her a radical left person who destroyed San Francisco. Trump saying that while meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago today. ABC's Perry Russum reports.
Hello, everybody.
Former President Trump sitting across the table from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
We've always had a very good relationship.
Trump asked about Vice President Kamala Harris's meeting with Netanyahu this week, where Harris says she raised serious concern about the scale of human suffering in Gaza, including the deaths of what she says are far too many innocent civilians.
I think her remarks were disrespectful.
Trump adding,
I actually don't know how a person who's Jewish can vote for her.
The former president, Mr. Trump, slated to deliver a speech at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville tomorrow afternoon. After his speech at the conference, there's an offer for attendees to meet with Mr. Trump. However, that meeting will cost you $800,000 minimum. Trump's Saturday speech is slated to last about 30 minutes, beginning at around 2 o'clock. Conference leaders, they're expecting more than 20,000 people to attend the annual event. Conference officials said they, too, are working with security teams and Trump's Secret Service to ensure that the event will be safe. Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. courted cryptocurrency enthusiasts tonight at the Miami Bitcoin conference. In his speech, Kennedy said if elected president, he'll add more Bitcoin to the National Treasury Reserve and shield Bitcoin owners from paying taxes.
I'm telling you today that I will never, ever sign a law that taxes direct ownership of Bitcoin.
And speaking of taxes, Tennessee's traditional sales tax holiday is going on right now. Clothing, school supplies, and computers can be purchased tax-free with limitations. There are some restrictions. If you buy stuff online, that too is eligible. Items, though, must be purchased for personal use and not for business or trade. It all comes to a close at 11:59 p.m. Sunday night. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. I still am your friend and radio buddy, aren't I? I can still be your friend even if we disagree, right? Come on. We can still be friends. You have your opinion, and I respect your opinion, but I don't agree with it. That doesn't mean we have to be enemies. Apparently, I just have to spend a moment or two talking about this because, some of the things I've said in the last hour have really irritated a lot of you. And I've been called a narcissist. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Where do you get that? I've been said, that you don't buy. You think I'm being naive. You think I'm being dumb. Look, I'll tell you, I think my track record is pretty good. Let's just go over a few things. Do you remember the Christmas morning bombing down in downtown Nashville? And do you remember all of the crazy, excuse my language, crazy ass stuff that came across? Wow. I mean, what that was, and it turned out not to be any of those things. With the fullness of time comes more information, and with information becomes, a story that you can verify. Evidence, things like that. And look, I understand the one thing that I there's no percentage of me. I don't know why I'm bothering. I don't know why because you're going to have your opinion and I'm going to have mine. But I try to base my decisions based on the facts, not what I think or what I want or some kind of belief that I have. I want to just say, okay, what are the facts? All right. And so you and I are going to disagree, and it doesn't mean that we can have to be enemies. You don't have to get mad. I have opened up the phone lines and allowed a lot of things to be said on this program that I don't agree with, but I want to have a full airing. Now, does that mean I'm going to be with you on everything? No. My job is not to tell you what you want to hear. My job is to tell you what I think the truth is, the best I can discern it. And I've got, okay, here's another one. How many of you out there said, oh, it's going to be Michelle Obama. Oh, Wilson, it's going to be Michelle Obama. She's going to be the nominee. Are you stupid? You don't see this coming? It's going to be Michelle Obama. It's not Michelle Obama. That's very clear as of today. It's not Michelle Obama. The nominee is Kamala Harris. She will be the Democrat nominee. It's not going to be Michelle Obama. She even has endorsed Kamala Harris today. So, I mean, I have a pretty good track record of getting it right. And remember, we all looked at 9/11. And I know, I don't know why I'm bringing this up, because there are people out there who still think that 9/11 didn't go down the way the evidence seems to suggest it. But there were 12 people with box cutters who pulled off 9/11. How in the world did that happen? They exploited weaknesses in the system. So, look, it seems to me that if there was a vast conspiracy out there to take out Donald Trump, that they would have found somebody other than this kid. This kid was a total loser. I mean, it was, did you hear the part of the story that happened when we were learning the first things about the shooter? That he wanted to join the high school rifle club, and they wouldn't let him in because he was a laughably bad shot. So this is the guy you choose to carry out your sophisticated deep state assassination? I mean, come on, folks. But again, you can be mad at me, and I see these comments on the Members Nutrition Super Text line, and that's fine. That's fine. But I just want you to consider my reputation for getting it right is pretty good. I'm not perfect, but it's been pretty good. So, just wait. More information will come in the passage of time. Now, look, and I may come around to your side of things. I have an open mind. I don't think many of you do. Many of you who are blasting me on the super text line, I don't think you have an open mind about it. You've made up your mind based on your personal beliefs. I've made up my mind based on the evidence that has come out so far, and we'll hammer it out over time. I may come around to your side of it, As I said earlier in this whole thing, when we were talking about a second shooter, there wasn't a second shooter. There was only one shooter. But we now know that definitively there was one shooter. In the passage of time with more evidence, we perfect the story. That's the way it goes. But I said in the early going, hey, listen, I'm not going to say if you think there was a second shooter, I'm open to that idea because you know what? Sometimes some of these conspiracy theories turn out to be right. But I mean, I just can't be with you on that, and I think that we need to all take a deep breath and just wait for the facts to come out. But I'll tell you this, I'm open. My mind is absolutely open to facts, not speculation, not I believe. Well, whatever you believe, you're entitled to believe, but I don't have to believe it. I want facts. Facts, folks. Get the facts. All right. Are they yelling at me?
Do you really want to know?
Yeah, no. Read a couple of them. I'd like to know what they're saying.
Let's see. Oh, here's a couple of good ones. I trust you, Brian, because of your experience. So that's a good one. Tell Brian he is right so far. Okay. Let's see. The people.
No, give me some of the bad ones too.
I'm trying to locate some here. The people responsible for this will ensure that we never get any factual physical evidence, but there's plenty of circumstantial evidence.
Okay.
That's going back to 9/11. I don't think we need to rehash that again. This kid could make a Pop-Tart, so he pulled this off by himself. Okay, I guess I don't believe it. These are just the new ones that have come in the last 30 seconds. Oh, here's one. Let's see. Well, these are all being positive now. So
they're backing me up, are they? Well, thank you.
Swinging back the other way.
All right. Well, I mean, some people, you go back to those ones that we had earlier where people were just blasting me. I mean, my goodness.
Let's see. You're naive. Think our side is batting 100 on conspiracy theories these days.
Okay.
Let's see. This was the one I was telling you about earlier. The prospect of the second shooter is valid. There were actually 11 shots fired. You're supposed to be a better journalist.
I've not seen anything that says there were 11 shots fired. Source your material.
Yeah, nothing given there. Was the 2020 election rigged? I don't know what that's got to do with anything.
Well, anyway, we're going to have some disagreements out there, but just, listen, let's just wait in the fullness of time. I think you'll get the answers that you need, but I don't think you should underestimate how government can screw things up. They can. Listen, I got some stuff I need to share with you in the last hour here. Some stuff that's come across the transom that I think is really important. Enough of that.
Wait. One more. I got to put this one in there. 1256 says, the deep state controlled the shooter using 5G birds via his COVID vaccine chip. Wake up, sheeple. Love it.
I think he's being facetious, don't you? Wake up, sheeple. All right. I do have some... That makes me laugh. All right, here we go. Harris, the numbers are tightening up in this presidential race. I just need to let you know that. New poll comes out this afternoon from the Wall Street Journal. Fox has got some polls out as well, which says that things in Pennsylvania are basically tied. So the battleground states are tightening. The general election numbers are tightening. And I'm not too worried about it because what you got to realize is that Kamala Harris basically is now in her honeymoon period. Democrats were so panicked about Biden that they are just thrilled they are about Kamala Harris, but they don't know Kamala Harris. They have not even begun to learn about Kamala Harris. And as we continue to tell the story, and we'll have plenty of money on our side to put those ads out there and tell the story about Kamala Harris and how radically liberal she is, I think the numbers will right over time. But right now it's tightening up. The presidential race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is essentially tied, according to a new Wall Street Journal poll that shows heightened support for her among non-white voters and dramatically increased enthusiasm about the campaign among Democrats. On a ballot test that included Robert F. Kennedy and other independent and third-party candidates, Harris received 45, Trump gets 44, Kennedy gets 4, and 5% remain undecided. Biden trailed in the multi-candidate contest by 6 points in the last poll. So she's made some strides, especially among minority voters. Harris is, there you go. So if the general election were held today, they ask you, would you vote for? And they got all kinds of graphics here. A reshuffling of the demographic mix of Democrat support could alter the states where Harris might be be competitive against Trump, Republican running for a third time. Greater backing among non-white voters could help her in more racially and ethnically diverse battleground states, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, North Carolina, where Biden was struggling. Harris is supported by 63% of non-white voters in a two-way race, up from 51% that Biden had in the last Wall Street Journal poll. So Biden had 51 in non-white voters. She's got 63. So that has been, I think, the major thing that has happened. Non-white voters have gravitated back. They're enthusiastic about Kamala. We'll see what happens. But right now, don't be surprised. Over the next few days, the stories you're going to hear are that the numbers have tightened. Okay. Trump announced his plan to hold rally in Pennsylvania, in Butler, Pennsylvania. He's going back. I mean, this is basically all I have on it. Former President Trump said his plans to hold a campaign rally in the same Pennsylvania town where he was shot earlier this month in a failed assassination attempt. He says, and this is his statement, I will be going back to Butler, Pennsylvania for a big and beautiful rally honoring the soul of our beloved firefighting hero Corey and those brave patriots injured 2 weeks ago. What a day it will be. Fight, fight, fight. Stay tuned for details. I can tell you this, it won't be at the Butler farm. It won't be an outdoor rally because apparently they decided we're not going to have any more outdoor rallies. Easier to secure an indoor building than an outdoor venue. So there is that. Citizens United and GOP states have filed an FEC complaint, a Federal Election Commission complaint, over Biden-Harris funding transfer. Citizens United and 16 GOP-led states filed a Federal Election Commission complaint Thursday, accusing Vice President Kamala Harris of improperly taking over President Joe Biden's campaign funds after he withdrew from the race. The complaint asked the FEC six-person commission, which is evenly divided between Democrat and Republican members, to prevent Harris from using her ill-gotten gains for the November 5th election. So they're going to try to go out there and say, you can't transfer that money over. I don't know how successful that will be, but nonetheless, it is beginning. That will happen. Let's see. With regard... Well, I got some other stuff, but I've gone too long here. I'll pick up some of this other stuff right after the commercial break. Right now, it is 20 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
A captured co-founder of one of the most notorious and violent drug cartels made his first court appearance today. We'll also have today's closing money news. That comes up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
25 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on this Friday. Hope you're getting home safely and glad that you're with us. I really am glad that you're with us, even those who hate me right now. Jack Smith, the guy who is doing the prosecution of Donald Trump on the classified documents case, right? This story out from the National Pulse, I think it's right. Biden-Harris Department of Justice Special Counsel Jack Smith's appeal of a ruling dismissing his prosecution of former President Donald J. Trump for allegedly mishandling classified documents will likely not be settled until October at the earliest. On July 15th, the U.S. District Court Judge Aileen Cannon dismissed the case, ruling that Smith's appointment as special counsel violated the Appropriations and Appointments Clause of the Constitution. In an order issued by the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, Smith has been given until August 27th to file his brief, arguing why Judge Cannon's decision should be reversed. He will have an additional 7 days to submit an appendix. Meanwhile, former President Trump's attorneys will have 30 days to submit their own brief after Smith has filed his brief in the court. An additional 21 days is then granted to the Biden-Harris DOJ special counsel to file a response. So when you start laying out that timeline, the timeline laid out by the 11th Circuit Court means that unless Smith can secure an expedited process, the appeal will not be ruled on by the appellate court until just before the November presidential elections. Should Smith prove successful in reversing Judge Cannon's ruling, the prosecution would not be able to move forward before the election was already over. Done. The document case is out of the way. I got to tell you, the Trump legal team is really good. And you know what? Everybody said, "Oh, they got all these cases." Well, what is standing now? Even the conviction that he has is on appeal right now. I mean, they did a great job, and they got some help by taking this to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court gave him a ruling that said he's protected over some of this stuff. How much is still to be determined, but some of the stuff he's protected. Now, this story, I have about 3 paragraphs on it, but what I've got, I am not pleased. You ready? Oh, this is going to make you mad. Former FBI agent Peter Strzok, remember him? Peter Strzok reaches a $1.2 million settlement with the Department of Justice. Former FBI, this is from ABC News, former FBI agent Peter Strzok has reached a settlement with the Justice Department over his claims that his privacy rights were violated, according to his lawyers. According to Strzok's lawyers, the U.S. government has agreed to pay Strzok $1.2 million. I say that again. Strzok gets paid $1.2 million. Strzok and his lawyers argued that the DOJ violated his protected free speech by releasing text messages he exchanged with then FBI lawyer Lisa Page. Remember, Lisa Page and Strzok were the FBI lovebirds, the DOJ lovebirds? Well, when those text messages got exchanged, he filed a lawsuit, and it's now been settled in Strzok's favor for $1.2 million. That hacks me off so much. And you know, he was like the Eddie Haskell of people involved in that whole thing at the time. You know how he texted, "Oh, we're going to get him. Don't worry, we have a backup plan." All of that was legitimate information that should have been out in the public to know what was going on behind the scenes at the Department of Justice. And apparently, after a long negotiation, they're going to give him $1.2 million. I suspect a lot of that's going to go to his lawyers because he's got a hell of a legal bill. But he was, I've never seen a more smarmy guy. Do you remember his testimony on Capitol Hill? How he sneered and laughed? The guy just everything about him hacks me off. He comes across as very disingenuous, and I got to be careful or I'll get sued by the guy, I guess. But I mean, he wins $1.2 million. Wow. And this is another story. Well, hold on to this for a moment. Because I'm telling you, when we come back from the news here in a moment, I got another story that's going to hack you off a great deal as well. It has to do with those anti-Israel protests on Capitol Hill yesterday, the burning of the flag, etc. You ain't going to believe this one. 30 minutes now past the hour.
Good evening. It's 6:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. It is mostly cloudy. We are at 78 degrees. Another traffic report and the weekend weather forecast is coming up. The 76-year-old co-founder of the Sinaloa drug cartel made an appearance in a U.S. court today after he was arrested in a complicated capture at an airport along the border yesterday. ABC's Alex Stone has more.
In his first ever appearance inside of a U.S. courtroom, 76-year-old Ismael Zambada, known as El Mayo, required the use of a wheelchair and spoke a total of 22 words. The judge overseeing the case read the notorious drug trafficker his rights and the 12 charges he faces as part of a 2012 federal indictment against him. Zambada made no statements other than responding yes, no, and I understand as the judge questioned him. Zambada entered a plea of not guilty to charges out of Texas.
Now let's go ahead and turn to today's closing money news with Michelle Frenzen.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Major stock indexes rallied to end a bumpy week with broad gains across big tech and smaller stocks Friday. News from 3M and other companies that earnings beat forecasts boosted markets. The Dow Jones was up more than 650 points, or 1.6%. The S&P 500 gained 1.1%, and the Nasdaq rose 1%. Treasury yields fell on news that inflation fell to 2.5%, stoking expectations that the Federal Reserve could cut interest rates later this year. Airline catering workers are threatening to strike as soon as Tuesday. Workers at Gate Gourmet, which provides food and drinks to flights at 30 U.S. airports, are asking for pay raises and better health insurance. And as the Summer Olympic Games open in Paris, the city's small business owners, tight security measures are restricting visitor foot traffic in shops, cafes, and bars.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, if you're in the market for a pole barn, the two brothers that run Stoltz Co are the two guys you need to talk to. Exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices. They can build a brand new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind. That is the Stoltz Co difference. Now, pole barns can be used for a lot of things. They can be used as a classic tool barn, a work barn, a place for your cars, a garage. They even have a thing for your animals. Okay, let's do that. What about a home that you can live in? That's called a barn dominium. They can do all of that. They combine the classic post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't script on quality. They don't cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. Now, go to their website. It's stoltzco.com. Let me spell that for you. STOLTZCO, Stoltzco. Go to their website, stoltzco.com, and take a look at some of the things they've done for other people. Then you're probably going to want to call them and say, give me some of that. 615-622-5992. Learn more by going to the website, stoltzco.com. That's stoltzco.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
I started work in the early 60s, and Tennessee had a deer stalking program already in place going, primarily from Clarksville Base within the Fort Campbell area. From that area, a lot of deer were stalked in Middle and West Tennessee, and then later on, we started taking deer from those areas and stalking other areas. So it was a progression. It moved pretty fast. The deer sometimes were faster than the stalkers were.
I bet that was pretty exciting, trying to trap those deer and move them and know that you're making a huge impact.
Well, we wasn't all that confident.
Oh, really?
Because a lot of the counties had dog problems. You know, they'd be wanting to dog the deer, and it didn't hold up under that kind of pressure. And we had to go back in and restock. And there was a lot of different types of law enforcement work that had to be done.
I hear you.
And the officers did a good job. And we talked to a lot of the judges, and they clamped down pretty hard on somebody poaching deer out there. Back then, we only put out 15 or 20 deer. It was critical. In fact, at that time, it could cost you your truck.
Yeah. It's an amazing success story. You hear folks saying, well, we didn't see a deer when I was a kid, and now you just have to walk out your back door and you got in a subdivision grazing or driving down the interstate highways or whatever, you see a deer just about every day.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if we're too efficient.
Some folks say back in the good old days, but I don't know. Right now, hunting and fishing is really good.
"37 minutes past the hour. We're wrapping the week up, and what a week it's been. In the next few minutes, we'll hand it over after the news at 7 o'clock to Mark Levin. He'll carry on through the evening. A great one. So aptly named. What a good guy. We need to get him on. I keep saying that, but we do. This is the story I was telling you before the news that's going to hack you off. If you saw the protests that happened at the U.S. Capitol or near the U.S. Capitol, they happened on federal property. The Union Station is a federal facility. It is owned by the federal government. It's where Amtrak and the subway system there, they call it the metro system. It's where you go to catch your metro subway. It's where you go to catch your train out into, goes all the way out to West Virginia. Sometime remind me to tell you the story about how I got on the train, and I was supposed to get off in Maryland, and I ended up because I fell asleep in West Virginia. It's a hilarious story. It's one of my favorite stories.
Are there banjos involved?
Yes, there were, almost. It involved a guy who made bird noises. I'll tell you. You remember that story?
Yeah, I do.
I'll tell that again sometime. But it is a federal facility, and they defaced it. They spray painted. There's a big statue of Christopher Columbus and other statues there. They brought down a big American flag and set it on fire. Burned Benjamin Netanyahu in effigy, and all of that. So listen to this. From the Washington Times, at least 11 anti-Israel protesters had misdemeanor charges dropped after being arrested during a spate of protests in Washington, D.C. During Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's address to Congress. The District of Columbia Attorney General's office and the protesters said the protesters would not be prosecuted, had been charged with crossing police lines, disorderly conduct, inciting violence, and causing unreasonable fear. However, charges are still pending against 5 people arrested during the mayhem that include burning American flags and scrawling swastikas and anti-Semitic slogans on monuments in in front of D.C.'s Union Station. Of the 11 people whose charges were dropped, at least 8 face more serious charges under the jurisdiction of the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of Columbia. They're not going to face any of these charges. A lot of these people are going to skate. They will. They never want to prosecute. I don't know why, but they don't. Now, let me talk a little bit about the border situation, because, the Biden administration is going to make the case that the border situation is better. We solved the border problem. We're not going to have those daily pictures. It doesn't stop the other stuff that comes along with having so many people already across the border. There's all kinds of problems with that. But they're going to claim, well, look, we solved the border. They're not coming. And I'm going to tell you right now that the cartels are cooperating because, and maybe with a wink and a nod, I think they are cooperating because they understand if we continue to give them a picture that causes the Democrats problems, we're going to end up with Donald Trump, and that's the last thing we want. So there's that. Okay. And then, though that doesn't solve the problems of the people who are here who are causing problems, like right here in Davidson County, where a guy was severely injured by an illegal immigrant.
Fox 17 News has learned the man accused of killing a Nashville restaurant owner is an illegal immigrant with a criminal record. Agents tell Fox 17 News 24-year-old Ulysses Rigos Martinez came here illegally from Mexico. He is the person now facing charges in the death of Smoke and Thighs owner Matthew Carney. Fox 17 News also has confirmed that he has, as I mentioned, a criminal history, and a judge is accused of dismissing 3 charges against him during a preliminary hearing back in March. This story continues to develop, and as it does, we'll keep you posted both on air and online.
Well, I want to know who these judges are that are doing this. Who are these judges who are bringing these people up and just giving them just get out of here. I don't want to deal with you anymore. We need to prosecute these people. So we now have a dead man, as far as I can tell, a very respected restaurateur here in the Nashville-Davidson County area. So, when they say that every town is now a border town, this is what they're talking about. Baltimore County, very liberal. Two stories here that I think are interesting. One is about a sex offender and the number of sex offenders that have been released by judges in the Baltimore area who are illegal immigrants to this country.
Yeah, Mary and Kai, that 10% is alarming all on its own. But in digging into these cases further, Fox 45 researchers also found that not only do non-citizens make up a large percentage of these child sex offense cases, but they're also receiving seemingly low sentences from Baltimore County judges.
According to Fox 45 researchers, from the start of last year to May 2024, the Baltimore County State's Attorney's Office bringing charges against 99 people for sexually abusing minors, nearly 10% of which federal immigration officials say were living in the country illegally, despite non-citizens only making up about 3% of the total U.S. population. Maryland's ICE Director Matthew Elliston.
So our first case is the child molester.
Saying for the last 2 years, the Baltimore field office leads the nation in sex offense arrests. Back in June, Fox 45's cameras capturing the 105th arrested so far this fiscal year. 39-year-old Luis Portillo Henriquez, accused of repeatedly raping a 14-year-old family member and convicted of a felony charge. And yet, it didn't take long for him to end up back on the street.
Another great example of Maryland judges giving out awkward sentences.
In this case, a Baltimore County judge suspending all but 18 months of his 25-year sentence.
25 years, and they're getting 18 months. And she goes on to lay out the story on other people, illegal immigrants, committed sexual offenses in Baltimore County, and some of them didn't get any charges. Well, let's just listen to a little bit more.
And Fox 45 uncovering at least 4 other cases just like it. This man, accused of sexually abusing a girl between the ages of 8 and 11, also sentenced to 25 years, but only 18 months required to be served behind bars.
He sexually assaulted someone who, between the ages of 8 and 11, and he's given 25 years behind bars, and he serves 18 months, and he's back out on the streets. So part of the problem here is that we have these liberal judges that are letting people are not actually making people serve time in the Gray Bar Hotel. And the other problem, of course, is that these cities are being overrun by people who are, some of them are not good people. Very serious problem. Let me do this. Kamala Harris in 2019 attacked Donald Trump over wanting to build a border wall. The comments have been pulled up by the people at the RNC, and this is the kind of stuff that when I talk about the Wayback Machine, is going to find a lot of stuff. Here's what Kamala Harris had to say about Donald Trump and his desire to build a wall back in 2019 when he was president. These comments don't hold up well for Kamala Harris.
We don't need to build a wall. This is a crisis of his own making.
What crisis did he make?
And by definition, just plain speak, basic English language definition, it is not an emergency.
He wanted to build the wall and was trying to build the wall, and she says, well, it's not an emergency.
What's going to end up happening is that he will end up, without any question, if he proceeds, we're going to be looking at a situation where, in particular, homeowners and landowners in places like New Mexico and Texas are probably going to look at government taking their land. We're looking at military resources being focused, again, on the president's vanity project.
Vanity project?
Instead of focused on real national security issues. This is
the one that gets good. This is good. Listen to this.
Issues. This is irresponsible. It's the height of irresponsibility for the commander-in-chief to suggest that we have to build a wall across our southern border because there are terrorists who are trying to invade the country. It couldn't be farther from the truth.
Really? I think there have been quite a few terrorists that have been confirmed as coming across the border, Kamala. She's a piece of work, I'm telling you. As Americans come to know her, don't worry about these numbers. They're going to be fine. All right. Then this story, as long as we're talking about the border situation. This is from the New York Times, which I normally don't, but their take on it is so well written. It sounds like a story ripped from a narco thriller. One of the biggest drug lords in Mexico was lured onto an airplane, flown across the border, and presented to the American federal agents by the son of his former partner in crime. It does sound almost like a great story, right? How did they pull this off? As improbable as it may seem, that's exactly what appears to have happened on Thursday evening when a Beechcraft King Air turboprop landed at a small municipal airport just outside El Paso, and off-stepped one of the most wanted men in Mexico, Ismael Zambada Garcia, the founder of the notorious Sinaloa drug cartel. Mr. Zambada Garcia, known as El Mayo, had for decades evaded capture by both Mexican and American officials, living a life of luxurious simplicity in the mountains of Sinaloa, despite the $15 million U.S. bounty on his head. But in the end, U.S. officials said he was betrayed by an unlikely foe, a son of his closest criminal ally, Joaquin Guzman Loera, the infamous drug lord known as El Chapo, who is now serving a life sentence in an American federal prison. El Chapo's son, Joaquin Guzman Lopez, tricked Mr. Zambada Garcia into boarding the plane, the U.S. officials said, telling they were going to look at some real estate in northern Mexico. The older man had no idea that he was actually en route to Texas, where he would be delivered into the hands of American agents who had long been on his trail. He gets off the plane. He thinks he's stepping off in northern Mexico to look at an airstrip that they want to use for delivering drugs. And in actuality, he has been taken to an airstrip just outside of El Paso where the feds were waiting with their handcuffs. That's pretty good. The dramatic cross-border flight came after years of quiet contact between Mr. Guzman Lopez and a small team of U.S. law enforcement officers in the FBI and Homeland Security Department who had doggedly been chasing him, his three brothers, and Mr. Zambada Garcia in the wake of Mr. Guzman Loera's landmark conviction on drug conspiracy charges 5 years ago. It remains unclear at this point how much the law enforcement officers shaped or directed the events that unfolded on Thursday, but they were aware that Mr. Zambada Garcia was on the plane as it neared the U.S. border, according to two people familiar with the matter. I think when we get this story told in full, it's going to be a great story. They apprehended a hugely important criminal target that had eluded capture and that they had long doubted Mexican officials could or would get for them. So all kinds of questions will be asked about this in the days ahead. But can you imagine the surprise? What? I'm not in Mexico? 50 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. Listen, they want to help you achieve your summer weight loss goals. Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management in Wilson County, based in Lebanon. Call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124 or visit on their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. Now, my friends Carly and Jamie will take great care of you, just like you're part of the family. Now, I have gone through this process. They came up with a plan for me. We took a little adjustment to get it right, but we got it right very quickly. And you know what? I'm losing weight like crazy. And it's so easy. I mean, it's absolutely the easiest thing ever. I am not hungry, and the weight, every time I get on the scales, I'm a little lighter every single day. I actually look forward to getting on the scales. So far, 25, I'm right around 22 pounds, I think. These customized treatment plans are not one size fits all. They will look at your unique needs, lifestyles, and goals. So whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Here we go. If you want to find out more, just go to their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.